Welcome back to ESG Tour Mykonos, brought to you by Betway. We're currently stood outside one of the places where the teams play. We've got EnVyUs in there right now, and they're actually about to face off against Virtus.Pro. Luke, what's going on with this matchup?
Well, Pala, Betway couldn't split the two teams when they priced this up a couple of days ago. They went 1.85 about both of those teams. Now, I thought that was a little bit strange. I think VP should be a lot shorter in this match. But actually, what's happened is EnVyUs have been slashed in the betting. Now, obviously, VP's form at Malmo was very shaky, but I liked what they showed at the Major. I don't think EnVy have quite showed that they are a top-tier team just yet. I'm a fan of the players, I like the players, but they haven't done it on LAN. So I'm really hoping that the plow will be out in full force. We can back Virtus.Pro with Betway at a pretty massive 2.10 odds, so I'll be playing up the liquid winnings on them.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Luke. And now let's head over to Paul and the guys.
Yes, thank you very much, Panna and Luke, with the Betway betting update. We're back at our panel once more in the beautiful island of Mykonos with Lurpis and Thorin. Thorin's no longer being attacked by canopies, you'll be pleased to know. Or maybe not pleased. I don't know. There was mixed reaction to that, Thorin.
Yeah. Some people liked it, some people didn't.
Attacked by a canopy. Is that the first time you've been attacked by a canopy?
I've attacked a few canopies myself.
Have you?
Parties, you know.
Probably best we don't go down that road just yet. We're going to get into our next match very shortly. Let's just get some initial thoughts on this one. You've heard the betting advice, obviously, but EnVy versus Virtus.Pro, it's kind of when I see that, I just go, oh, awesome. It's like,
no, I think the same thing.
Two great teams, and then actually...
And then I go, wait a minute, it's not 2015 anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So.
Yeah, that's the disappointing part, because you want these guys to do well. You want both teams to do well. You want them to be up there, but neither of them seemingly are up there. I mean, I spoke to a few of the guys from Virtus.Pro leading into this tournament. They're kind of, we've had a rough year, but it's not been as bad as people keep saying it is.
We've been making 25 grand a month. It's not that bad. It can never be that bad, Paul. It can never be that bad.
Banking the money. Yeah. But to be serious, though, they won Vegas. And they won the Adrenaline Cup, which, all right, wasn't the most competitive. But still,
that wasn't a tournament.
I know, but they've won a couple of tournaments this year. Vegas was decent.
Vegas was good, but it's
a long way away.
So was the Major before Vegas, but it's just ever since then it's been like this.
Yeah.
And there's a long way down from here.
Yeah, I think we're about 800 foot up or something. I don't want anything bad to happen.
And I'm not sure how far down the poles are yet.
No, well.
There could be more.
Massive tidal wave just comes back over like this when that shot's on.
I'm surprised you didn't do a Team Liquid pun then.
Liquid wouldn't make it that high.
Hey, there it is. All right, let's take a look at our first lineup, which is Team EnVyUs. Now, these guys, they've gone through the roster shuffle, obviously, earlier on the year. Things have now calmed down a little bit for them. They've got a bit of stability, and Sixer and Happy in that team. How do you feel like the other three have come in and moulded as a team? Do you still feel like they're finding themselves?
The big problem I have with this team is that the big name in the squad is Scream.
Yeah.
So you look at Scream and you think, if EnVyUs is going to be at their best, he's got to be one of the best players in the world. And that really is the main thing, I think, in this team that has not clicked at all. Some of the others have found their roles, and over time, like, for example, I actually think Sixer has improved a lot in this squad from the old EnVyUs. I thought he was kind of a liability there, admittedly joined very late. Whereas you look at Scream, he still looks lost within that team, you know. Like, actually, the best players in this team, probably RPK and XMS at the moment. Happy to some degrees recovered some individual form. I still don't know that he's necessarily gotten his style to work, though. He still does stick somewhat to that old style. It's maybe not as much baiting, but still very much based around his lurking style. So they've changed a few things up, but my problem with the EnVyUs squad is I don't look at them and go, oh, they're underperforming. Or aside from Scream, I kind of feel like they are the losers of the shuffle, and they've just made the best of what they've got. And this is maybe just what it's going to be like now. It's been, once you've had this many tournaments, it's kind of set who you are, your identity. Whereas you do look at Virtus.Pro and you think, yeah, probably should be a better team, right?
To be honest, I think EnVyUs might have even done better than many expected initially when this team was put together, because they've actually scraped together some top fours at second-tier tournaments. They've had some upsets. They've qualified for some tournaments online. Admittedly, that's not what they hoped to achieve.
Oh, online they've had some pretty good form, sure.
The big problem, like you said, is Scream, because he needs to be the tier 1 superstar carrying this team, and then he can get some help from the other guys. But it's never going to work if RPK is the main guy and then Scream and XMS are sort of right behind him. That's not how it's going to work. Because Scream is the only guy who's theoretically going to be able to go head-to-head with the other best players in the world in every single game.
And obviously, that's even within the context of why he's here. He was not discluded from the G2 team because of skill. It was purely just because they looked at the way the roles worked out and they thought it wouldn't make sense to have this guy when, for example, it was actually NBK that they replaced him with, you know, who's won them like the Swiss Army knife of the game, you know. So with Scream, he's a player where, if anything, you've got a better player than your team currently is at in terms of level, you know. You should be able to make use of that. And I feel like it's a mixture of his own personal problems. He's obviously had issues earlier in his career, not necessarily activating himself as much. And then Happy is an in-game leader for some weird reason. I mean, you look at his lineups, he's never really generally worked around other star players. He's been kind of the central point of the team. There's some disconnect between the two of them where I feel like they're just not on the same page for what they want to do with the team, where they see each of them succeeding, you know.
Do you feel like maybe Happy's a little bit too rigid with his style sometimes?
That's not the word that I would use to describe his style. I'm not sure.
Just in communication within the team as an in-game leader.
I mean, I feel like if anything, the problem is more so that he's allowing everybody to do whatever they want to some extent, and just reserves his roles that he wants to do for himself. But the problem is, before he used to play with players like Shox, NBK,
Kiyashima.
You could let those guys do whatever they wanted, and he would work out a lot of the time.
Right.
That's how G2 plays.
Yes.
Shox just goes on the other side of the map. He tells people what to do. They work off of that. NBK has some ideas, but now he's not playing with those guys. He doesn't have a Shox to run the show on the other side of the map. He doesn't have a player like NBK, and that's why for this team, I think he would have to be a more active type of leader.
Yeah,
like,
I probably didn't phrase that very well. I just meant, does he need to change in this current version of Counter-Strike? Is his old way of playing not the right way to play
the
now?
part that's so bizarre about it is I really thought he would kind of follow back on an old narrative, which is if you look at the LDLC team he had before he got Shox and NBK and those guys, when they were just the second best French team, and he had Kaylee and he had some of these players who he had Apex, etc., but before they were the bigger names, you know. At the time, because he was working with a couple of good players and then a couple of role players, famously role players who haven't made it in the scene since then, he actually had a pretty tactical style, and he got top 4 at the major, and he actually ran real tactics, and he didn't play this lurking style. And I thought, right, logically, once you lose out on all the big names, and really all the big names went to the other team, G2 kind of hoarded all the talent. I thought, right, you go back to the old approach. You turn back into that old in-game leader who's a bit more tactical. You run it a bit more like a big, where you've got to get the most out of everyone because you don't have the big names. Whereas he's kind of tried to make some hybrid between his old superstar lineup, loose style, and something a bit different. And I feel like he's fallen between the middle there sometimes, and it's not really much of anything. It's not very good in this direction or in this one. It's just kind of it's just an okay team.
You have to commit to something as your style. Yeah. You can't really tiptoe the line and try this, because at some point you're just gonna your entire team is gonna be lost in what you're actually supposed to do. You have to just pick a style and work with that and try to make that work.
I'm glad you've raised that, because our next team, of course, and we'll show the lineup in just a moment, are Virtus.Pro, a team renowned for sticking together as a team and also trying everything they possibly can. In-game leader changes, position changes, style changes, tactical heavy, not tactical heavy, run and gun. They've tried everything, it seems, in the last 8 months, Duncan, and they've still not found their rhythm. Why?
Yeah, well, one thing that is a massive change from any other Virtus.Pro, even in eras when they had their slumps, okay? So when they had that big slump at the beginning of 2016, okay, Snacks had like maybe a month where he was bad. It was mainly Pasha who had the big problems. But throughout the time he's been in Virtus.Pro, he's been a fantastic player. He's always been someone where even if Virtus.Pro didn't win the tournament, he was an MVP candidate. Basically, ever since they won that tournament in Vegas in February, he has fallen off a cliff. And statistically, he's like a third of the player he used to be, you know, something ridiculous. Like, he's really fallen down. And he's never recovered somehow. And so since, for me, he was the one true star player in that team, and I always thought what allowed them to win was they were kind of the modern, updated version of what they had in 1.6, where they would always have Neo there, and then the others, their job was almost like, right, he's going to get us close to winning, and then we've got to be a good team unit, we've got to have some tactics, and then we've got to kind of have the experience factor, win clutches and stuff, and that'll get us over the line. And you notice, both versions of these Polish teams, it's always usually close wins. They're not usually stomping people, you know. So I feel like with Snacks disappearing completely, there's a big gap left in that team. And so, for example, Pasha actually plays pretty well now. He's kind of recovered form. Even Bialy's decent. The rest really struggled, though. So I think this is a kind of a composition of those players that I've never seen before, where those are the stars, and the ones that are off are the ones I think have to be the guys who return. So I don't know what they do at the moment.
Tommy, any ideas?
I mean, what we were saying earlier is I just think if Snacks is still calling, you have to get him off that role. Because I think that's the one thing that's coincided with his huge drop in form. I think you have to have Neo call, or have anybody, like have Pasha call for crying out loud. Just don't have Snacks call, because he's the guy you need to be putting up Tabs and type numbers. and just playing all the hardest roles and doing all that stuff. Because you have to remember, he's one of the most versatile players in the game. He plays any role. That's what he said famously after, I think it was after Vegas, when he went, it's like, well, if I have to call, I call. If I have to op, I op. If I have to clutch, I clutch. I just do whatever that's needed. And that's what he needs to do. Because otherwise, like Duncan said, it's just Virtus.Pro just isn't as skilled of a team as some of the other teams out there. So they can rely on that. And they're not the most tactical team, so they can't rely on that either.
But even that's a bit sad, though, because during this slump, at their worst moments, getting like relegated from Pro League, for example, and even some of the games like at Malmo, if you ever go and watch their demos, it's not that they're not trying. They haven't just given up, and they still innovate new smokes and new rushes. So they're doing stuff. They're working tactically, but you got at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how tactically you've got to at least have the baseline of good players who fit their roles. At the moment, that's where they fall down.
Okay. How do you assess them in terms of coming into this tournament right now after a disappointing Malmo as well?
I mean, they were a disaster in Malmo. I don't think disappointing is strong enough of a word.
But you're allowed to say, you're allowed to go as far as you like, Tommy. I have to be fairly
Put it this way, they lost to a Renegades team who then immediately after the tournament said, this lineup doesn't work at all, kick this player. So, you want that to be their best day. Like, wow, everything was great. I want this guy in my team, So that kind of sums it up right there. They were the team that you thought after the major, they should have a chance, right? And they go out last place in a group where, in theory, one of the weak teams was there.
And, people always say, well, Virtus.Pro, they care about the majors. That's when they always show up. I mean, but they had the easiest way to the final at the previous major, and they still didn't make it. It was supposed to be on their home soil. A big thing about that didn't help.
Yep.
And, I mean, frankly, we were talking about this earlier. Aside from their first major win in Katowice in 2015, their major form isn't actually particularly good.
No.
They've made tons of quarterfinals, and they rarely ever get past that.
Semis,
just a couple semis.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think the whole thing is a little overblown. Like, they just need to start getting some results back on the board.
Okay. We're going to move to the veto fairly shortly, so let's turn our attention to what potential map we might end up on here, or even whether it really matters between these two.
One map that I would love to see, because I know EnVyUs still like to play the map, and if they can, they go towards it, is Cobblestone. So I feel like if the two teams kind of just agree on it and they ban out each other's weak map, I feel like Cobblestone would be a really great game. It's always been a Virtus.Pro map. It's always been a classic one. I actually think that's a map, by the way, where you can look at some of their problems, because what was the classic position Snacks always played? It was like the Matrix area going A-long. They swapped that up. They switched him over. I think he now plays in the B side, actually. So they've changed up even some of their classic positions. That's what I mean. It's not like they just chill and then they really do the joke of like, oh, we make so much money. We'll wait until later to get ready. No, it looks to me like they're trying their hardest. They're trying everything they can, in short of a roster move, because that's kind of the one area they're not allowed to go in their minds. That's the forbidden zone. So they have to try everything. They have done, and it just hasn't yielded any results.
Yeah, that's the disappointment about it, Tommy. What do you expect from the veto?
I actually tend to agree. I think Cobblestone would produce the best match. I don't think we're going to see Train. I don't think we're going to go to Overpass.
No.
I feel like those are not going to come up.
Usually VP doesn't want cash.
Yeah, I don't think cash is going to be on the board.
But Mirage has always been an EnVyUs.
I don't think EnVyUs is going to play Mirage. So
Train's a possibility, I guess.
It could be, but I just feel like both teams would be more comfortable.
I think VP would obviously want Nuke if they could.
Yeah, Nuke is not going to.
Yeah, they're not going to.
I think Cobblestone is the most obvious choice.
Because it just feels like that's one where we both like it, so we both just don't veto it, and at the end it ends up being picked. Whereas often a lot of the vetoes go the other way. You're just vetoing everyone's strong maps, and then you end up on a middle ground for both. Whereas that's why it could be a good game. Both teams like the map, kind of a classic map for both.
Okay, I'm hearing we're still waiting for the veto to begin. So we'll just talk about the overall tournament itself. It's obviously it's 200,000 euros, Duncan. It's a decent wad of money and great location and what have you. There was just a little bit of conversation in the community about, well, it's kind of like it's at the end of the player break, and it feels like they're on a player break. Then when they come here, it feels like they're on vacation. So how do you kind of balance that? It seems like some of the teams have come here gone, yeah, we're still in vacation mode.
Well, I mean, I have to say, that's the reason why I think if you look at Malmo, the results are all over the place and upside down at times, because people are either coming off a player break where they haven't played, or teams have made brand new lineups, and so who knows what to expect, either playing them or from themselves, So hopefully at this tournament, we don't have as many teams that made roster changes. I think that's great because you can you pick up the old rhythm of what you were doing, especially the likes of VP, etc. I think that there is the fact that, sure, some of the players might say, oh, we want to break, etc. But from what I've known of nerds, you might take a week off. You might go out for if you've got to go for, maybe you go somewhere for an exotic location. it's now been like, a solid, what we're talking, like 5, 6 weeks at this point in time. I think a lot of them want to play some Counter-Strike at this point in time, get back into the swing of things, especially some of these teams who have had, a bad last few months and they want to kind of put some results back on the board. Even SK Gaming probably want to win this tournament really badly because of how the last couple have gone. So I feel like actually it could be a motivator in that respect.
Yeah, I've definitely heard a couple of the teams out there have literally been like, it's actually been kind of boring. I just want to play. I just want to get back to playing. And so some of them, I guess, have probably practiced a bit more than others as well. And that's we sort of don't know which ones are which, because I've heard that some have had boot camps before they came here. Some had obviously DreamHack Malmo before as well. So varying states of doing. Well, when do we find out when the true form of the major qualifications, because they're a few months away presumably, so when do we find that true form? Is it this weekend? Is it next weekend? Is it a couple of months from now?
I feel like it usually manifests like about a month out from the major. I think that's when you can it's kind of set who the really good teams are. And at that point in time, if a team hasn't got it together, it's unlikely they're going to buy the major. I will say one of the...
Of course, your flip side.
Yes, obviously they just they just don't exist until the major, right? And then they arise from the tomb, Blade comes out, he takes on the human skin and stuff. No, one of the interesting things about this tournament, though, when I think about it now, is one reason why I think some of these teams will actually have prepared here is because your teams like Team Liquid, EnVyUs, Heroic, Big, they're having to play qualifiers all day long for events. They aren't used to getting invites nowadays. They actually have to go the hard route, which means you have to play tons of online qualifiers. So at least they'll be in some kind of battle-tested shape, because we know teams like Team Liquid definitely have been scrapping, trying to make it to some of those. So it's different from a team like SK. They could have just taken time off from the day Malmo ended until now, for all we know.
Yeah, and then of course there's the top 3 spots all get a spot in the next ESG tour, which I guess, like you said, some of those teams will actually be thinking, well, okay, maybe we can't win the whole tournament, but maybe we can scrape out of the groups. Maybe we can then win a third place game that maybe the other team don't care about too much, and that's an automatic qualification. They've played the qualifier.
Well, I also think there's no other team but SK who anybody here would think is off limits for them. I think everybody feels like they can beat everybody except maybe SK. Maybe SK is too good for them, but it's not like there's a second obvious favorite where, say, Mouse Sports would look like, oh, well, we can't beat Gambit. Like, that's
That's why
sorry, just for a second. Have you seen the pictures on here, by the way?
They're a bit wacky. A bit wacky, yeah.
I have to say, I like those.
I actually think, though, that
they should be enforced at more tournaments.
The team here, I think, has to worry the most is actually Virtus.Pro, because first of all, they're not in a group with SK, so it's potentially you can get knocked out without playing SK. And then secondly, everyone except SK, they're used to living in a world where we beat all these teams, So if they get beaten up by these teams and they're losing best of 3s to those squads, I feel like that eventually it has to start hitting your confidence. It's one thing if you're losing to the top teams and you don't win, then you can always come back to that. It's when you're a classic team like that and everyone already is looking, should you do a roster move? And then you're losing to the lower teams. Yeah. Then you really have to start asking the hard questions of, like, it's not about people are hating anything now. You legitimately have issues.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have a team that won the major, who didn't want to change anyone and had to change someone, and yet still look good at Malmo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody thought Gambit would look that good so quickly after losing Zeus. Obviously, Adren didn't play to his major level.
Definitely
that's because
I don't think that's going to happen because he's in-game leader now.
Exactly. But I also wonder whether that's going to be sustainable, because like we talked about earlier, they had some wacky plays in Malmo to get to that point. I'm not sure if that's going to work out the whole time. And also, whenever a team parts ways with their leader, a lot of the time it works out really well for the first, say, 1 or 2 months when they still have all the old game plan that they can rely on and just have someone else make the call of when to do what of those plans. But then slowly they evaporate, people forget timings, they start messing things up, and that's when it really gets challenging, because you have to start reinventing your game. And that's where the challenge is actually going to be for Gambit to see if they can still do that.
So maybe there's some leftover Zeus in here.
No, there's plenty of leftover. Yeah. It's like 90% leftover Zeus for the time being, but it's going to get worse and worse every single month that goes by.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. But I just want to run this past you, Duncan, because I thought this was very interesting when we looked at Gambit's previous results. And Tommy and I spoke about this before. You think of it as like, oh yeah, wow, they won the major and it came out of nowhere, and it kind of did. But listen to this: major winners, obviously, DreamHack Malmo 3rd, 4th, DreamHack Summer 5th, 6th. DreamHack Austin winners, CS Summit 2nd, E-League Major, long way ago, but 5th to 8th. So some decent results this year. Yeah. That, for any team, would be like, we've had a good year.
Yeah, but the problem they had as a squad was, early on, they were like a really dangerous underdog team. But then it was only for these 2 maps. Like, they had this one period, I think it was at Star Series, where their stats were like, 8-1 on Cobblestone and Overpass, 1-7 on every other map in the pool. So like at that point in time, sadly, they'd been getting these top teams on those maps where the top team was thinking, well, I'm the best overpass team, so we'll play you on that, and then losing. And then after that, everyone was like, right, we'll just ban those 2 maps. And as soon as people started doing that, the wins started to evaporate, and they could only then go against some of the tier 2 teams, like some of the CS Summit teams and the DreamHack Austins. Then you go beyond that, they had this little period where all of a sudden they started to get together, actually. Now they were winning, they actually had this deep map pool, you know. I feel like it was coming into the major, though. A lot of people don't know this behind-the-scenes story, but they were losing all their scrims. Online play had always been terrible the whole time. And actually, supposedly, the team was just going to break up. They were going to fracture. They thought, like, right, you go to the major anyway. Obviously, we qualified. But it's probably over after this.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're hearing rumours of, like, massive Eastern European, Russian, Ukraine, CIS kind of shuffles involving Hellraisers, them, Na'Vi. I mean, they were one of the core teams of what was supposedly going to be a massive shuffle.
And that's the thing, to me, it's like, yes, I do think they had something to that lineup. Like, I think if Zeus had just stayed, they could have been a pretty good team. Maybe they could be, like, 6th best team in the world. But I do think they'd kind of peaked. And then I think the fact that they had the terrible period before the major showed them, like, this could be going totally wrong. And then when they had the major, I almost think in the back of some of their minds, they were like, well, what more can you expect from this lineup? We did the best. We won the major at the end. Now let's just knock it on the head. Let's not get silly. You're like, you know, quit while you're ahead. Let's go to a different direction. Obviously, for Zeus, that meant going to Na'Vi. And then this quite bizarre move, but one that thus far has worked in picking up Fitch from Tengri, the old team where Hobbit, etc. played.
Yeah, almost like a feeder team, dare I say it right now, for Gambit at this point. We've got the vetoes almost ready, as I understand it, so we're not too far away from giving you the vetoes for this particular match. We'll get back into this match as well. Here we go. EnVy, of course, playing Virtus.Pro in our second Group B game of the day. So, what do you make of this, gents? Here we go.
Well, Happy does like to gamble with his 4 spies, so let's see if he gets those 777s. The suspense is killing me.
It's been going on for too long now. Let's go.
It's okay, though. The canopy stayed up. You guys know I know how to pitch a tent.
Oh, so Virtus.Pro vetoes Cobble. That's surprising. I actually thought Inferno and Cobble would have been the 2 most likely maps.
Well, that's one of the interesting things is that VP was one of the teams early who were trying to embrace Inferno because Inferno came in and replaced Dust 2. And remember, that's another part, by the way, that kills me about this slump. When Dust 2 went out of the map pool, they already had the best map pool in the world, and then their 1 permaban was removed. So everyone's like, well, they're unbeatable now. We've got all 7 maps. So they did embrace Inferno early on, hoping that that would be the case, and this is going to be our time. But actually, it's been one of the maps where I feel like they've had a lot of issues. Like, they have some fantastic smokes, etc. on that. They still lose on it. So I think they've become scared of that one. It is quite bizarre, though, to see that they would ban Cobble themselves. Yeah. I agree. That just shows, if anything, a lack of confidence, because it's always been a map for them.
No, it's always been the one map that they've relied on. Something to add on Inferno is it seems like no one's really found the consistent way to be dominant on the map. It just seems very, very random to some extent.
Yeah. So I mean, I think Big probably were the only ones that really figured some things out on that map during the major, but even then, it's not like they're unbeatable.
Well, I think even that's, to some extent, it's overrated. They had a hot streak. They won 3 best of ones.
Yeah.
And I think only one of them was against a legitimate top team. I mean, they beat FaZe,
they were all
but
pretty
FaZe
good.
FaZe was struggling at the
time.
They beat
SK and FaZe. That is the top 2 teams. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Okay, so we're going to end on Train.
Well, I mean, listen, if we're going to see any kind of flashback, this is another classic VP map. This rework of the map they have always been fantastic on, especially on that terrorist side. But then on the CT side, most famously, Taz, one of the best inside inner players we've ever had in any version of Train, actually. It goes back to 1.6. And this is also another map where when they reinvented themselves last year and came out of their old slump and in that like kind of post-major era, they were the #1 team actually, and they were having that really strong run. This was one of the maps where Snack started showing us AWPing actually. He brought that out of the equation. He became the AWPer over Pasha, etc. So I want to see what type of a Virtus.Pro appears on this map because there's so many different variants that have been good in the past. But with the players that are playing well and poorly at the moment, I don't feel like you can necessarily go to one of those. Right. So are they going to reinvent themselves? Are they going to go to kind of an old model? Can EnVyUs make them? That's another factor, you know. It might not be about Virtus.Pro. It might be about, is EnVyUs going to be good enough on this map? Because funnily enough, when EnVyUs guys had the old lineup with Kenny S, etc., this was a map that was a real problem child for them. They'd play it just because they had to with what else they banned. They didn't want the overpasses and Mirage of the world. But they were always a bit ropey on it, you know. And that was with Kenny S, one of the best AWPers in the world. So I have question marks for both teams.
I think part of the problem for the Frenchies is that you kind of need a tactical style on the T side of train. You at least need set executes. And like we said, that's not really the kind of style that Happy likes to play.
There's not really any loose team, if you think about it. It's really good on the T side.
And even after that, you still need some skill, because very open map once you get out to the bomb site. And you still need to win those rounds. And that's where you sort of need to have very good team play. That's where you know how to play off of each other, set up well for the after plans when you do these smoke executions to get the bombs down, which happens quite a bit on train terrorist side, maybe more so than on any other map.
Sure.
And that's where theoretically, if Virtus.Pro is playing well, that's where their style of play, where they rely on the teamwork, good communication, without that much skill, actually could work out really well.
Okay, key players in this particular game. We sometimes see this double AWP set up on train. Are we going to get that from either of these two teams? I mean, the French are famous for it in the past.
I don't think there's any universe in which Virtus.Pro will have two AWPs running on the team. I'd be glad if they have one at this point in time. I think you certainly could see it for the French side. I think that could possibly happen. He certainly seems to like to do it. And in this team, I mean, he almost thinks, well, why not? You know, I can get away with it now. No, I don't have Kenny S. Like, can I have that weapon, please? So that could be the case. For me, this one, it's tough for Virtus.Pro because I have to kind of use the logic of if they're ever going to be good again, I feel like they need Snacks.
Right.
And this always was one of his best maps. This is why it's funny that he kind of plays the Neo role for this team. He's even fantastic at moving around on the trains and a lot of the little movement tricks. He has I wonder if he patterned some of his game off Neo. So I'll have to say Snacks for Virtus.Pro. And then over on the EnVyUs side, the player I'm most interested in actually is the newest recruit. It's XMS.
Right.
Because he's a player where I feel like he's still very young, and obviously he's playing under a new style of in-game leader. But I've seen a bunch of games where he looked like he had a lot of potential, and especially on the T side with an AK in his hand. So I want to see him do well if EnVyUs is going to win this game.
You're just saying that because he's a child of existence.
Everyone's a child of existence in the French scene. It's just some of them have forsaken their father, have not honoured their parents. They've broken that commandment, and they will be punished by an angry god.
See, I went down this road knowing fully where we were going, but yeah, we have to get Kevin into the show somehow. No response for that, or?
Listen, it's my dream, obviously, but maybe one day Happy will just choose to retire from the team and willingly give his spot up to existence, and he'll become the in-game leader of the team. We can all dream. We're on vacation. Don't worry about it.
Nothing wrong with dreams.
These are the sort of things I think about when I'm sat back on the beach, with a pina colada.
When you're checking out a great view.
Yeah, like when I was looking at Dossier in that Speedo. Back to that again.
He wasn't in Speedos, was he, earlier?
No, just in my imagination.
Just in your imagination.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I mean,
this is some Inception level stuff. Duncan's actually just in a dream within a dream within a dream.
And then he woke up and he was dreaming.
I mean, this might be my dream for Happy to be stuck in this sort of an existential nightmare, constantly trying to run the same things over and over again, pushing that boulder up the hill, it just rolls down again.
Hey, talking about boulders, we've got some boulders on the hill around here. Have you heard about the Greek gods? Because we're
not talking about Dossier again.
No. Apart from Dossier, apart from that Greek god.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently, like local legend
figure.
says that all the boulders on the hill are actually the testicles of gods that have been killed here. And it's where the phrase stones come from. Now, I'm not claiming I know this. I just read it, right? Does that sound right to you? Well, that's where the phrase stones come. Is it like,
if it's on
have
the
you got
internet,
the stones?
If it's on the internet, it must be true.
It's probably on Wikipedia or something. I don't know. That's a legend. It's it's Mykonos. I'm just filling.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't rely too strongly on that source.
But there are some big boulders on the hills.
You mean the gods? Well, like, have you seen these? You go, what, those stones? And they go, D's nuts. Reference to a meme there. All right, got him.
What are you doing afterwards, by the way, when the sun goes down?
It's a bit forward, We only just got to know each other again,
Not after.
Maybe go to the bar, I have to be wined and dined, Paul. So.
Right, okay.
After this event.
Yeah. What are you doing?
I'm going to ESL New York next week.
Okay.
Yeah. You think they're checking it out?
I think I might go.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. What about you, Tommy?
I'm going to go back to rainy London.
It's too much. We've escaped that place, mate.
It's too much.
You've gone the other way.
He doesn't even live in the country anymore.
Hold on. Yeah. London's actually, I've escaped Finland, and I've come to London, where we don't have snow, and it only rains about half of the year.
Okay.
So maybe next I'll go somewhere where the weather's actually nice.
You've got one level higher in Inception, but you're not out of the dream yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Still spinning my thing, and it just won't stop.
No.
Okay. All right, well, I'm hearing that the players are almost ready. They're almost on the server and ready to go for this particular game. It's EnVy versus Virtus.Pro. So, final predictions from the pair of you. Which way does this go?
I'm going to go ahead and say Virtus.Pro wins this. And you might think, oh, wow,
yeah, hold on. Like, you just spent 10 minutes trashing them, Duncan.
Exactly. You might think, what, you believe in Virtus.Pro? No, I just really don't believe in EnVyUs. So I'm going to say, by virtue of elimination, someone has to win this game. So congratulations, Virtus.Pro.
It could just go on. It's overtime.
I think they're bad enough that it won't. So it will be a win for Virtus.Pro, I think. A narrow one, but I think this will get them started again. And maybe winning the best of ones also. That'd be a great motivator if I'm in this bad form. Let's just win the best of ones, get out of the group that way.
It's a shame I let Duncan go first because I was going to say Virtus.Pro as well. Maybe he'd go with the French side. But I think basically what Duncan said is the case where, I mean, they can't afford to lose more. So I think they have to start taking even these sort of lesser teams in best of ones more seriously. Because it's how many more losses like this can they take? I mean, they lost to Renegades for crying out loud. So at some point, they're going to have to start winning. And I think they just have to take these games more seriously. And I do think Virtus.Pro playing relatively well is supposed to be better than EnVyUs. But we'll see.
You're going against that title sponsor because Betway basically... They've gone with EnVyUs, and that's where the money seems to be going. So,
well, and we're saying the underdog then.
Yeah.
We're recommending people, you know, pop a little on the ponies, you know.
But at the same time, how do you just ignore what happened in Malmo?
Computers don't know everything, okay? Sometimes you've got to believe in the human heart, in intuition, in spirit. What can I tell you? I believe EnVyUs will lose.
So it's not even
I'm sticking with that logic.
That's not even a confident pick here, is it? We do have two men who have decided to go with Virtus.Pro in this particular matchup. I wonder if our commentary team are ready for this particular match. We are going to give you over to a brand new set of commentators for this one. We'll see Henry and Alex a bit later on. But for now, let's go back to Harry GG, this time with Risk.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm here with Harry, and we're in Mykonos. We're ready to see the game. Of course, the guys on the desk talked about it. Who do you think is going to take this one?
I'm going to have to go EnVy. I'm going to have to go against them, go against the wave. Agree with Betway on this one. You hate to do it, but there you go. I think they've looked really good. I think their journey getting here as well has been very hard fought. I think they looked fantastic in the qualifiers and VP, where they've left me wanting time and time again, and I've just said, enough is enough. I'm not welcoming them back into my life anymore.
That's a rough comment, but yeah, I'm actually with you, to be honest, because if you look at the kind of like the online qualifiers where VP have played against the likes of, let's say, Gambit in the New York qualifier, did very well as well, did very well on train as well. So I'm thinking EnVy for this one as well, especially with the map choice, because as they talked about with the cobblestone being out of the picture now with playing train, I actually do think that EnVy is going to have a chance. Right now, we're just waiting for the teams to get 100% ready, and then we'll be able to jump into the game. But so far, how's your experience been here on the island?
It's been, I didn't get in till like 10 p.m. It's been good. My room is a little hole under the villa. I live in, I don't know what it is, but it's like...
We decided we didn't want Harry in the main part of the house, and we just put him in the hole instead.
The Harry hole. It's a dark place. How about you, Risk? You've been enjoying it thus far?
Yeah, actually.
I've seen you chilling. I've seen you laid out, sprawled across... the beds and stuff that are out there. It's all quite comfortable, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Really nice location. And yeah, never been to Greece before, so
although,
I can cross that out.
I tell you, I don't know what Paul was on about with the boulders being the... I think when a man who said he was a tour guide, I'll have to take Paul up into the mountains to show him the god's balls. I don't think he was... I'm just worried that Paul took... I think Paul took that the wrong way.
But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. We have, of course, the teams on your screen right now. Of course, the biceps man himself, and yeah, pretty interesting one. Snacks, of course, not with the team shirt. We saw him in the intro graphics with just a white shirt.
What does that mean?
He got cut off.
What does that mean? Conspiracy?
Obviously
maybe it's farewell to... No, I doubt that's the case. Probably just forgot his shirt. It's basically a vacation for these guys.
He's in vacation mode.
I hate the word vacation. It's holiday. Stop calling it a vacation. That's disgusting. What is the difference between the two, Risk? Do you know?
I have no idea. I'm not even, English isn't even my first language, so I'm probably the worst person to ask.
I know, you've let me down again. Here we go. Quick shot of the pool. Hello. Enjoy the swim. Quickly get out the shot. I'd do the same, to be honest. Oh, now it's back to us. But just waiting for this to get underway. I have to kind of agree that I don't really think VP have looked that promising. I think they've gone from... being the major, and even then they had a very easy path to the finish line, and they didn't capitalize on it. So I think then when you look at EnVy, we saw them come through that qualifier. They played versus LDLC, Space Soldiers, Hellraisers. Of course, they won out in the grand final versus LDLC. They looked fantastic throughout all of that. And I think they're a team that's been going from strength to strength, in all honesty. I mean, it feels like things have started to move into place that little bit more. Yeah, I mean, like, Happy maybe finally kind of figuring out how to run this a little bit. I mean, Scream, when I spoke to him a couple of times, and he was kind of saying how they were actually figuring out his role specifically within the team. And, he wasn't playing that same style as before. So it does kind of feel like maybe it's all started to click into place that little bit more. And when you look over a VP, it's kind of a team in disarray that I really hate to see, especially when you look at the players on it, right? They're the five kind of Polish legends.
They are the players that you want to win. Like, you want as a fan to have them win a tournament. But then again, like, if we look at the recent maps, for example, when they were at the major, when they played really well, they played against, let's say, a Gambit, lost on Train also. So maybe that could come back to haunt them. This, like, Train not being a perfect map for them anymore. Because if you look back statistically, Thorin mentioned this as well, like a player like Snacks who can play so well on this map. They used to be gods on this map, along with a bunch of other maps back in the day. And now we're at the situation where VP, they're not the kind of level of a team that we used to have them. And then Team EnVyUs are coming up again after a long slump, winning all these online qualifiers, winning DreamHack Atlanta, albeit against worse opposition than we have at this tournament. But still, they have done well recently, and now they're coming into this tournament, in my opinion, very hot. Definitely off the online results.
Yeah, you just got to look at it, right? I think EnVy could beat Renegades. I don't think the VP could beat Renegades. There we go. Yeah, I think it is just kind of the classic story. But then VP are this team that everyone always says, doesn't matter about their results right now. They'll come back. And the issue I think a lot of people have been starting to face is like, how far can you fall down that hill before you, before there is no getting back up, before you are just down and out for the count? Because, it's something that we've never really attributed to VP. I think that's even, the case for the people hiring them. Their contract's signed until what, like 2020, I think it is?
Yeah, it was a 4-year contract.
Yeah, I mean,
four months ago they signed it.
Yeah, and I bet they're sweating just as much as VP fans are, thinking when the hell are these guys going to get back to the same level they were at before? And I really hope, for their sake that they can. I think it's such a nostalgic team as well when you watch it. And as Duncan was saying, they do definitely still try and innovate. They've been trying to improve, so it's not through lack of effort. We're not seeing them reach their potential. It just seems like there's such a big void ever since you kind of saw Snacks fall silent a little bit. I really think Pash has been the one stepping up to try and fill those boots. But, I mean, famously was never really the player that we saw running away with anything.
No, and also Neo. Neo is one of these players that I think every CS player in the scene has so much respect for, but his level over the last, let's say, 4 months hasn't been up to the standard that he would probably also like it as well. So, in my opinion, like, if Neo could maybe start to get a bit back to the plate, Snacks as well, if you could have those two players individually stepping a bit more up, and the team in general start to work better than they are currently, then they would have a chance of actually doing really well and coming back to the kind of form that we saw them winning at the Vegas tournament, that we saw them way back in the day when they used to win majors and place top with majors. So it's going to be an interesting one, and this is the first tournament. They had Malmö. Now, okay, we know there are problems. We have to work back. This is all a big story of how VP comes back to glory, some would say. But let's just see if we can get into it. We're still waiting here, of course, for the players. That's why we're trying to fill here, but players are joining up. We have all of them on the server now, so we're just waiting for them to be 100% ready, because, of course, we don't want any player to get into the server not being warmed up. I know this is like a vacation tournament, but still, everyone has to be 100%.
Yeah, I mean, you say vacation tournament, it's still 100 grand for first place, right? I mean,
that's a pretty good vacation.
If someone told me I had the option to go on holiday and also win 100,000, I'd do it for 1,000. I just nearly sold out there, but don't tell ESG that. Yeah, I mean, right now, we are just waiting for them to get on in. I imagine they're just sorting out, fine-tuning these settings, running over any problems that there might be. So yeah, I mean, we should be getting into this one fairly soon. I doubt we're going to have any sort of, what is it, like, we heard about how Henry is just this guy who just slaughters his pets.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think either of us are that way inclined. I hope you're not, Niels.
No,
I wouldn't be sitting next to you if you were just like, yeah, I strangle dogs. Yeah, it's a hard task, but it pays the bills.
Yeah, I'm a very, very simple person. I only had a couple of pets, and they all lived long lives and happy lives. So
that's fantastic. Yeah. That's what that's the sort of positivity that that I wake up in the morning looking for. I think it was Pasha who was having the issues. He DC'd just then, and also when we flicked to his camera, he was frantically searching through the video settings. So maybe dealing with some frame rate issues, but I think it's all sorted now. Just been given the 1 second call, so I'm hoping that we're going to be back into this one because delays are never fun.
Yeah, that's how it is. But once again, if we can go back to the map here, because we are playing trainer, I'm very interested to see how VP are going to tackle this, because Team EnVyUs, of course, they have Sixer who can play with the AWP, but they also have Happy who picks it up sometimes as a secondary AWP. But in general, as a team, I would say on the CT side of Train, they have so much damage that they can do. So I'm looking to VP on the T side. We saw Duncan and we saw Tommy talk about like how they still try to innovate on the T sides of these maps, despite them being this legendary team that have fallen off a cliff, to be like, not to be rough, but that's kind of what the story is. And they're still trying to innovate. So I want to see them really innovate on this T side, because we know Team EnVyUs are going to be very strong on the CT side. On the other side, when things flip around and we go back, we go Team EnVyUs T. What does Happy have installed? Does he have actual set executes for us, or does he just want to rush in a bomb side and do a couple of flashbangs and just go in run and gun style? This is a very interesting map tactically between these two teams. So yeah, I'm just waiting to get it started, waiting patiently and very excited for it. It seems we have a few sound problems, and that's what is keeping us waiting right now. But surely they'll be fixed in a matter of minutes. No worries, boys. We have time. Sadly, we can't go out in the sunshine in the short break.
I'm loving it. I mean, it probably doesn't bother you, but I mean, even now, the Danes are too renowned for their ability to go out in the sun. But us gingers, we don't fare too well. I'm sure Duncan can agree with me there. I mean, he's kind of he's on his way there. He's probably not enjoying it. I mean, he's wearing jeans and a shirt, so. Yeah,
I don't understand like how you can wear.
That's
long pants.
That's what I was wearing, and then I got changed, right?
Yeah,
now I'm wearing.
Nice. You're on the shorts team.
Yeah, skin tight shorts. It's terrible. It's cutting off the blood circulation in my legs as we sat right here. It's not good, but there you go. We've been told that it's all about to be underway. Bialy apparently sorting out those sound problems. We'll finally be allowed to see this match. It's probably one of the ones I'm most looking forward to today.
Definitely.
Just for the kind of nostalgia around these two teams. VP versus EnVy is historically a matchup that I think the average person would have dreamed of seeing. Two teams that were both extremely talented, and at one point in time, either one of them could have been contenders for the top spot in events, and they both kind of had a bit of a fall from grace. But I'm still excited to see how they fare. Just how Bialy still having some PC issues, so can't build on the storyline too much for the sake of. Not killing the hype.
But talking about the storyline, just to actually go even further back, so we have more stuff to talk about. If you go back and look at it, so Virtus.Pro won a major way back when, in the beginning of CS:GO, way back when they had the one in that was in Katowice, I think, one part of the ESL1 or the EMS back then. And then also Team EnVyUs, when they were in LDLC under the leadership of Happy with the star-studded team back then, after the Boostmeister scandal against Fnatic, they went on to win that as well. So we have like two major winning in-game leaders rolling these teams, but now they're here. And it's been a long time since any of these teams, any of these leaders have actually like tasted the grand success of winning a major. And now they're both like hunting for this EnVyUs on the way back. So like how do you think, they actually talked about this on the desk as well, like how far do you think VP has to go like down from that major winning team before they actually make a like change or something?
I think if we're going to look at changes for VP, it wouldn't be till 2020 till those contracts, right? I don't see anyone being too keen on switching things up till then. But I mean, with VP, as always, you have that hope where they will just pick things back up and suddenly be this dominant Polish team. But as we've seen with kind of some of these teams that have made switch arounds, which have had long-standing rosters, sometimes it's what you need. It was back in the day, it was kind of what gave SK that push to once again be a dominant team. It's what recently has allowed NIP to improve their performance. I think there's no denying that they look better. It's not to say that they're, still like world class as they used to be, but they are looking better. So I just think it is kind of a matter of, at some point, VP are going to have to acknowledge if things continue like this, that changes have to be made, and then you kind of look at who would they pick up. I think someone like Manice would be someone that they're really looking forward to. He was kind of one of the players who we said, you have to keep an eye on this guy.
In my opinion, I think that the question is, do they pick someone up who right now could fit into the team and the skill level, or do they pick someone up like Astralis did with Kirby, where, okay, he's not going to be on this point in the first 3 months, but let's say in a year he'll be very good, and he turned out to be very good. That was around the timing when they won the major. So maybe they'll be looking towards some of the lower tier Polish teams. I know one of the players, he was on AGO, I think, the team that almost made it in the E-League qualifier, a player called Guacha. actually really surprised me. So the Polish scene has a lot of depth as well. So maybe if they want to like go even deeper, let's say, I mean, because he is a great candidate. If they wanted to switch someone out, maybe go even deeper and search for like the talent, the next like Polish Kirby, who's only going to be like 16, 17 years old.
Yeah, you know, I think right now it feels like the Greek myth of
Sisyphus.
Yeah, Sisyphus. There you go. You nailed that. That was impressive.
Yeah. I was pretty good at Greek mythology in school.
I never did that. That isn't something that I've ever had to do. So there you go. Yeah, you know, it's like it's the case for those of you who don't know. It's, you know, like he got punished, right? And he had to push the boulder up the hill for all eternity. He only had to watch it roll back down and hit him. And then he had to push it back up. And that's kind of what it feels like, you know, with VP. It just feels a little bit like futile. They do these kind of one-off results, and then that's it. They're back out again. And at this point, it doesn't even feel like they can get the boulder back up the hill to reach that top level.
Yeah, it's kind of like, as a VP fan, you always get excited for when they get into the major and you see, oh, they're making it, they're doing the run, they're starting to get map wins at the major, and they made it. Of course, they got the lucky bracket, but they actually made it really far into the tournament, further than most would have expected. And then, okay, they've done well at the major. Now they start stepping up again. Then we go to Malmö and they just jump straight out. But now, enough filling. We're actually ready to jump into the game, guys. VP versus Team EnVyUs. Train best of one here at ESG on Mykonos. And here we go.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing EnVy over on that T side to kickstart this one. VP on the CT side. And right now they're hoping to try and get this pissed around under their belts, pick up the early couple of rounds. EnVy, what have they bought? You got Sixer, he's the man bearing the utility here for that T side, the smoke, the flash, and the nade. As they send a couple of players down here towards Ivy, the rest slowly but surely pushing through to Pop Dog. At this point, they could try splitting onto A, but they're going to be lining up the... I was going to say they're going to be lining up the smokes from Sixer, but instead he's going to now rejoin the rest of the team. So it looks like they might try playing for B here.
Let's have a look. They only have one smoke on the CT side and one kid, and that's on Snacks. So that could be a big problem if, let's say, Snacks has to retake on his own or he gets killed early in the round. The rest of the team, of course, with body armor. And USPS, apart from Bialy, who's with his trusty P2K. Let's see what the execute is looking like for EnVyUs. Oh, it seems like the sudden pause in the strategy for EnVyUs wasn't actually a strategy. It was just wanting to restart. So here we go. Wasn't actually live. Restart admin. And yeah, the suspense is killing me, Harry.
I know, yeah. They're keeping us teased. They were like, this is what we could do.
But no.
But it's not what they will do, as we're going to restart this one. Here we go. Let's see what we've got this time around. Are they going to change their buy? Very much doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah, we still have one more restart to go. Lucky third try. Let's see if we can get it right this time.
Okay, here we go. Ooh, RPK's health bar moved up in such a weird way. But yeah, so we go. We got Sixer buying down the same utility as last time. The flash, the smoke, the nade. Everything looks perfect. Snacks, the one with the fuse kit and the smoke for VP. Now this time, let's see what they are going to do with it.
Yeah, same setup on the CT side as well as last time. Yep, pretty much all the same. Let's see if they want to go for the same setup. Happy and Sixer just watching out. Definitely happy for that lurk position. If someone comes in, he's ready to counter it. If they want to push that Ivy. Right now, on point with Neo as he's guarding RPK, who's a couple of seconds away from making his way into the inner bomb site. As the terrorists are still waiting here. This is a very common strategy, just waiting for CT aggression. Making sure that no one pushes in. You have a lot of time on your hands, so you can do whatever you want. Right now, setting up for an inner push so far. Neo is the front of attack. Let's see if you can get this done. USPS long range, sees them and rotates back.
Yeah, he's got the information that they are there. That's going to allow Taz to start to rotate on in. Joins up with Neo inside of B. The smoke and flash going to now rain on through for EnVy as they come walking on in. Taz and Neo missing shots left and right. Taz able to find the first. No trade just yet as Neo still doing damage here on top of the drain. Going to go and deny the bomb as well. And now he's going to start his aggression forward. Neo in with another, takes three, leaving this all unhappy. The late lurk in from behind will be put to bed. Bialy picks that one up, and that is going to be VP to take this 1-0 as they get themselves the pistol.
It's so nice to see Neo. Like, when he's hitting his shots, when he's having these moments where his individual level just hits, it's almost like a throwback back to the 1.6 era when Neo was just the best player in the game. And as a CS fan in general, I'm so happy to just see him in form. Hopefully he can continue this. They do go for the almost full buy here, Neo with the M4, MP9 on Passion Utility, and another M4 on Bialy. Of course, Taz coming in with the FAMAS, no UMP setup anymore. Pistols, of course, as we would expect. 6 is saving the armor, so he can buy the AWP in the first buy round. And then just a setup towards Ivy, happy with the lurk roll.
They're just going to bypass that smoke. Pash is not ready for this. They are going to start to round the corner. He's going to fall. Bialy's caught unaware as a result, and RPK takes another snacks. He's the man that stands between them and this site, and he's not going to go down just yet. Picks up 2 with the UMP, still alive and kicking. Taz comes in and mops up 1 more, but Scream does find snacks. It's going to come down to the 1-on-1, and Taz, he wins that out. VP, they managed to keep themselves in that round in spite of losing Pasha early on. It looked like he was having some tech problems there. You could see him in the little camera that was tilted slightly. He was getting, well, tilted slightly. So the tech going to be called on in while they try and sort this out.
Really nice hold, though. Despite they lost the 2 individual players in the beginning, the way that they stabilized after that and Taz picked up the remaining frags, that was nice. But for EnVyUs, you're looking at around, okay, you have pistols and you have armor, and you get 4 kills. You're very satisfied with your result. And especially the 2 openings, the way that they surprised VP, you have to be very, very happy about that. The smoke being put down on the Ivy, just pushing through it and taking that map control early on when VP didn't really, knew that we're going to come that way. But yep, let's see it. Still waiting on the tech issues as we are about to jump into round number 3. in this best of one. And so far, of course, only seen 2 rounds, but very excited to see how Neo can progress in this. Happy has to cook something up for the upcoming pie rounds. Want to see some full outside executes, some wall of smokes, definitely. And as they talked about on the analyst desk, get Scream rolling. That's one of the things you have to do when you're that EnVyUs side, because if Scream gets rolling, if he gets tapping away, and especially if he gets unified with RPK, they're a very dangerous team.
Here's a little shot of the pool outside. This time there's no one in it. And oh, here we go. Now, not the pool, but it's still the boys in blue. As, of course, the EnVyUs gang. Here we go. Tech Issue Central. It's a YouTube tutorial with Pasha Biceps here, telling us how to restore our mouse driver. I think he's trying to figure this one out for himself, getting a little back rub to do it. There you go. No, that should get sorted soon. Yeah, you know, I think it's very, very promising for VP to get themselves that pistol. I can't really read into this too much, but yeah, the damage being done from MV in that previous round, I mean, that they have to full invest into this one. Might see maybe a couple of players stick with the SMGs to try and farm up some cash, but very much, well, maybe one. It makes sense, right? I don't see them taking much more than that into the next round. MV, they're going to be very happy, as you said. They've done significant damage to VP economy. They can't really sustain any sort of buy looking forward. If they lose this next round, then they will be eco. The reset will come in. Round after next, that is, sorry.
But yeah, really interesting, of course, as we would expect, VP should win out on this first half because they start on the CT side. EnVyUs, of course, not known for their great tactical prowess and great executes. So VP should probably at least take this maybe an 8-7 or 9-6 or maybe even 10-5. So definitely up to EnVyUs now to find a way to bounce back and answer this kind of setup that VP have. And it's all like a big question, like, can Happy find a way out of this? And that seems to be the storyline at all times when Team EnVyUs are playing, because lately Happy individually have been stepping up as well. So can Happy find a solution? If that solution is himself going out and getting entry facts, and that's it. If it's a big grand execute, if it's something that tricks the opponent to like do a big rotate, it's all on Happy's shoulder really to kind of find the flaws in VP and then kind of like take advantage of that situation. And now, getting connected to TeamSpeak as well. Always got to have the communication on point.
Yeah, that's pretty important. Bialy just said in chat the only thing he hears is his shoots. That's always an issue.
Okay, only gun sounds and no footsteps. That's, of course, a big problem. Let's be real.
I mean, I can relate to RPK right now. I feel the same way. They all look a bit dejected. I saw them eating dinner earlier. They were all talking as a team. They were sat with us. You know, it was looking good. They're riled up. They're ready to go into this. Now, they've had to go a couple down early on. They're going to have to eco out this next round, and then they will be allowed to fully invest. But, you know, I'm just going to have to go for the Alex and Henry strat here and ask. You know, you were bragging about some stories you have. Should we break them out now? Is it too early to do that? I don't know. I mean, we're 3 rounds into the game.
Yeah. I'm actually not sure.
Come on, give me a short one.
Which one do
you can't?
You need to
you can't say which one. It's your life.
You need to mention like a theme or something. Like it was either university or pets last time around. So in this episode of storytelling at Mykonos.
Did you kill any pets? Was that?
No, I was actually really nice. I actually once I had a turtle when I was very young, and it bit my finger and I dropped it, so I almost cracked its shell, which is pretty significant for a turtle.
Harrowing.
But it actually got fixed, so it was no problem.
There you go.
That was a very bad story.
I hope that was exciting for everyone at home.
I even got bored.
You know, I hope this is the reason everyone's tuned in.
Yeah, definitely.
Turtle time.
Definitely tuned in because of my stories about
with
turtles.
the Dane.
That's right. But yeah, if you're just tuning in and wondering why we're talking about dropping turtles, it's because we're still in a tech pulse, of course. Yeah. So the general problem right now is that they're having some mouse problems on the VP side, and then we heard in the chat about some sound problems as well, but they're ignoring the sound problems and focusing on fixing the actual mouse problems, which are the biggest case, which is why we're stopped right now. Pasha's just disconnected from the server.
Tell you who probably doesn't have mouse problems. Henry. The hamster killer, as it were.
Yeah. That was a very strange story. I was not ready for that when they started that story. I was ready for some loving.
I hoped it was going to be really nice, right? Like, because
yeah,
Henry sat there and he's like, "Yeah, you know, I had this chinchilla." I was like, "That's adorable," you know. Where's he going with this? And then it's like, flush down a toilet. You know, that's how it ends. Just awful.
All right. Talking about something that's not awful, the fact that we're jumping back straight into the game. The game is being unpaused in 5, it says in the chat. So let's just get back into the server and look at the players instead of us. And let's get back rolling on DE Train. Scoreline right now is 2-0 in favor of Virtus.Pro over EnVyUs. Of course, this is the best of one. We decide who goes on to the winner's game. So let's get back into it.
Game is actually on right now. We'll make the switch soon, I'm sure. For the time being, yeah, we can do our best. You can look at us. The game is literally going on right now.
Yeah, there's no investment whatsoever.
It's a sly nod to the production crew.
No, but the production crew thing, okay. No investment from EnVyUs. There's no reason to actually show the game, so it's fine.
There we go. We're back in. Here we go. Neo, he's up close. Has himself the MP9. Pasha actually doesn't have anything. He's invested in just the armor up behind the USP. That makes perfect sense in a way because he's only up against pistols regardless. They're going to be a one-shot to the head. They don't have armor. So right now, VP going to be doubling on back round. Not expecting to get too much done here. I mean Envy, but you know, Envy doubling back round through T-spawn. Not expecting to get too much done, seeing as VP have armor. They've got everything they could possibly need, but they're going to try and get this bomb down out towards A. Now, Snack's going to be lying in wait. He's the first man to try and step up here. Takes a bit of damage, able to find one, goes back for more, looks for a second, which will be given to him. And this is just a mop-up on the eco. Scream, trying to get something done. Won't be allowed the satisfaction, and that is VP to go up 3-0.
Here we go, Harry. This is the round that I've been waiting for. The first buy round coming in from Team EnVyUs. Of course, losing the pistol and the sequence round after that. They now have the full buy. Open Sixer, Flashbang, and Head Armor. And full setup utility-wise on everyone apart from Scream, who's still missing a couple of grenades. So we definitely can see a couple of smokes being thrown here. 4 smokes being invested in as we do jump into another pause. But definitely looking forward to seeing what EnVyUs are going to throw our way. Smoke-wise for them, as I mentioned before. So we're looking at an outside execute, putting the smokes down, getting that wall of smokes, getting the bomb planted, and then rotating off to post-plant positions. Are we going to see an inner execute, smoking off the angles where the retake can happen? Especially, they know the Pasha probably has an AWP on that CT side. They know the Neo maybe will play close with that MP9. How are they going to handle this? If they can throw a couple of Molotovs in as well, as XMS and Scream both have purchased one, like how are they going to use that to either hold those post-plant positions or actually force the CTs out of their hiding spots in the bomb site? But right now, the players are still having some issues with their gear. They're actually discussing if someone has a spare mouse lying around so they can use it. But yeah, that shouldn't be the problem, as we do have a gorgeous look of the pool. That works. That's always nice.
Yeah, of course, it's got the Betway logo in. I think it's a metaphor, right? So you go with Betway, no, I don't know where I'm going with that. I just can't. I just can't do it. It's something about swimming around in a pool of money eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
But I just couldn't make the link in time. Hopefully we get this all sorted.
Okay, so same problems, boys. We're going to go for a commercial break.
There you go. We have some good news, some respite for everyone. We're going to go and take a very quick break. You don't have to listen to us anymore. Just go over the same stuff time and time again. Yeah, score 3-0 right now. We're going to go to a very quick break, and then we'll be back when the tech problems have been sorted.
Be focused. Be uncompromising. Be the best and never hold out. Pick your event. Place your bet. No matter who you are or what you're here for, it's our passion that unites us. Betway, for the love of the game.
All right, welcome back to the ESG Tour live from Mykonos. My name is Risk. Alongside me is Harry, and we are ready to jump back into the game. The issues has been resolved, and now we're back. 3-0 is the scoreline right now for VP on the CT side of the train. Of course, this is the best of one. Winner goes on to the, winner's game, and then they have a chance of qualifying into the playoffs. And the loser has to go down in the loser's game. We'll battle for spot at the decider. Of course, the GSL system, as we are on train, we do see Snacks, the man, the myth, the legend, on Ivy, ready with the M4.
Yeah, he's going to be holding it close, waiting to see if that pop flash comes through from Pasha. We're actually going to be holding the angle. Waiting there with the AWP in hand, but down goes Snacks on the entry from Sixer. That's the man advice taken here for EnVy. Pasha's at falling on back, had to give up some ground. The smoke rains in to keep him away. Now EnVy started to group the players background over here towards B. Slowly but surely pushing in through T-Spawn. Wrapping on back as RPK's been holding it, is fully aware there's no aggression out from VP.
Yeah, they just put the smoke down on lower, and then Neo's holding on the back of the bomb side, as he usually does behind the train towards lower. So RPK is actually allowed to walk straight in. Neo will spot him now, but it's too late. They already have control of the bomb side with this kind of map control being given. The bomb is going to go down. There's not much that VP can actually do here, and they're not rotating away. They're just taking the duels one by one. Pasha finally understands that this is not a winnable situation and decides to hold back and try to save that AWP. But then again, like, EnVyUs coming into the round, the first environment, and they haven't had much going for them. They survived with all 5 players. Not a flawless execute because there wasn't much of an execute, let's be real. But they actually do get far into B. They make the right decision, they make the right call, and win the round pretty much. Pasha, of course, saving the orb, bringing that into the next round.
Yeah, and it's important that he does, actually. When you look at it, they can't afford to buy. As long as he holds on to something, it means they can get the orb into the next, but he will be hunted down mercilessly by Envy, and that is going to allow T-side to grab themselves their first round. Money for the side of VP is going to be fairly limited. In terms of what they can get, they should be able to field it. A fairly decent buy, but Pasha is the real man you're going to look at with literally nothing. Get himself a Deeg, some armor up behind it, but that will be it.
Yeah, and you're looking back now at the point where the round where Team EnVyUs were able to take 4 VP players down with pistols in that second round. So that's probably coming back to haunt them now because Pasha, of course, as you can see, doesn't have a lot of money. The rest of the team cannot really invest into the kind of utility they would want to hold them all. Sixer trying to go for the wall bang, doesn't quite hit it though. Now EnVyUs in a situation where, okay, we probably know we had a bit of an advantage here. We can kind of read the money situation since we know we did good damage in that round 2. So they'll probably wait out for a bit and then do, hopefully, a fully execute, maybe towards that outer bomb side where you can really try and like take advantage of the fact that you have so much more utility than your opponent. Run boost towards Ivy, where Pasha is.
Yeah, they're just going to be peeking on in. Smoke rains through. That's going to push Pasha back. This one a little bit more passively. Envy just waiting down in Ivy. Pasha has this crossfire set up with Snacks. If they try to push on through, that smoke going to start to dissipate soon. They're going to come walking on in. Snacks actually rotates on back round, so Pasha is left here alone. They try and hold this one back. He's going to be fully flashed, and XMS finds him, now happy. And XMS continue this push in towards the bomb site. Neo's rounded the smoking connector to try and wreak some havoc as he worms his way into the backline. Does find some damage here, but he's going to fall on the peek on out. It's Scream to take 2 and leaves us now with Bialy and Snacks. Left to try and clutch this out. They spotted 6. They have him isolated from the rest of the gang. Scream, still the man within the site, has himself that bomb on his back. Going to go ahead and get that down. Now Bialy and Snacks, they're the 2 on the clock.
See if they can make it happen. One of them goes down, that Scream, and now all on Sixer with the orb 1v2. Well, HP and Bialy, so could probably pull his pistol out for that one, but let's see if he can make it happen 1v2. Nope. It's Bialy to take it out, and that's another round coming in for VP. One thing that I actually liked, Neo did not get a frag from it, but the way that Sixer threw over a smoke to block off the CT connector, Neo saw that smoke going down and heard the info from Ali, so he just pushed straight through it. He knew there was going to be no one near the smoke, and he actually got himself onto a really nice position on the bomb train. The only problem was that he then missed his shot on the guy who was about to plant the bomb, but still, the decision to go through the smoke on the back of the information that you get from seeing the actual smoke landing and your teammates and just pushing through, that's really nice, and really nice intuitive sense of how to play a position like that, because players with less confidence will probably just have waited back and then would not been in a situation where they could potentially have capitalized. Unluckily, he missed his shot, but still, if he gets that 9 out of 10 times, he'll probably get a frag or 2 in that situation. So nice decision making from Neo there.
Oh, but Pasha going to be able to open up this round with one into XMS. Push going to be coming in towards B very, very quickly here to try and keep Neo on his toes as they come walking on in. Happy is going to hit the deck. RPK's been left here all on his lonesome. The VP going to come charging his way. RPK pushes up through the site. Players all around, gets tagged away from Taz, and then will fall out towards the A-bomb site. It's Pasha. The drop seeks are leaving this all on screen. Doesn't take the first, goes back for a little bit more. Been tagged low, and then mid-air, Pasha does manage to find him. It's a 2K for, sorry, 3 for Pasha there, 2 for Taz. Is between them. They lock down that round. Pause going to be called in from Envy.
Very nice reset.
What do you think it is this time?
Yeah, it's kind of like a roulette.
Tech pause roulette.
50-50 if it's a tech pause or a tactical pause. But since they're not saying anything, I'm guessing it's actually a tactical pause. But once again, very nice reset from VP. They lost that 1 round, the first Baron to EnVyUs, but after that, they just completely gone back into the game. Pasha's definitely hitting his shot through the orb. Very, very important to have on a map like Train, that you have your main orb on point. He starts out on the CT side, gets some confidence going, and then when they go onto the T side, maybe he can even go for some opening frags, some entry frags with the AWP.
So I was cracking open a warm one. A warm
one
one with the boys.
Okay. Well, it is pretty warm here, so makes sense. As we do jump straight back into the game. 15 seconds to go, and then we're back in it. EnVyUs in a situation where well, they're forcing pistols here, but not like they're not forcing down to the same kind of amount. Definitely want to see Scream maybe purchase a bit more, but he's on the Deagle armor, so he decides that's fine. $1,200 to spare. Sixer saves for the AWP in the next coming buy round, saving a bit of extra money there, but definitely buying down to 600 makes sure that they cannot buy in the next one. They'll have to wait and have 2 ecos. Deciding to go for the full buy instead of the, let's say, 2 umps, 2 for masters kind of buy. Always a fan of that decision. Always a fan of full buys instead of forced buys. Neo picks up one that's XMS gone down. Hasn't really shown much in this game so far, in my opinion. XMS definitely one of the players who should step up as well if EnVyUs are to do well in this one.
Pash is going to be holding in, waiting to see if Happy does come his way. He's just going to be waiting though. Envy taking this round very, very slowly. Eventually going to start this push out over here towards the A-bomb. So they've rotated the bomb background. Happy still waiting down at Ivy. Pasha is just lying in wait, is primed and ready to drop him from the equation. And once he's gone, they don't have to worry about the players coming out through main. So as they come running on in, Pasha actually turns his attention the other way, and that's going to allow now Happy to come in from behind. Could do damage, but Pasha's fast. As he drops 2, Bialy and Snack step up between them. And that is going to be VP in with their 6th.
Yeah, so at this point, this is the same kind of eco strat they've ran 2 times now, where the main brunt of the team just comes out swinging towards that A-bomb side through A main, and then we have Happy, of course, in the lurk position at Ivy, but both times Happy have been shot down from that position. So it seems like VP are pretty clear on what EnVyUs are trying to do in these kind of rounds when you have Happy in a position where you're expecting him to lurk, and you're expecting him to come 5 seconds after the team. So they just shut him down. Of course, nice shot by Pasha, but it seemed like he was pretty much in control and knew what Happy wanted to do in that situation. Right now, full eco P250 is coming in, full B push.
Yeah, going to go charging on in. Taz is here. He's going to be able to find the first. Looks for a little bit more. Holds down the angle. Taz only manages to get 2 as the EnVyUs train charges in to B. The Molotov doesn't quite disallow that bomb plant. Another one going to rain in as it gets a bit hot and heavy within the site. Bialy mops up 2 more. And Envy, they've done everything they needed to do in this round. Happy is the last man left. 1v4. And the pole's knocking on his door. He's not looking too great in this scenario. Just going to stick the defuse. Nobody get anything from this one, Happy. Oh!
Jumps into the frame, gets taken out. Happy dies a miserable death, and 7-1 is the scoreline. VP ahead here on the CT side of Train. EnVyUs, apart from that one buy round, they're pretty much looking lost on this T side, and we expected them to not look their greatest on this T side on Train, but definitely not this kind of lost. Really looking forward to seeing them doing something here in this buy round. Definitely needs to step back into the game here and get around on the scoreboard, or else I think the VP plow is just going to go straight through them and take this to a very, very one-sided game.
That's not looking good for EnVyUs just yet, but of course it is still relatively early days. VP currently looking strong over on this CT side. Sixer going to be waiting here. No one comes his way just yet. Misses that quick flick, and now they know that he's there. They are aware of the French boost. Pasha still holding it down towards Ivy. His timing hasn't been fantastic in these last couple of rounds. The rest of Envy slowly but surely making their way over to B-bomb. Going to be dropped to Pop. Pasha takes that peek out, finds the first. Now we're going to look to see if Sixer can step up and get the trade. That was risky. Shoulder peeks around the corner, does just now fall on back. Going to flash down to Pop. Bialy's fully blind, but that flash was terrible, and shooting back down the ladder, Happy. The blind hero does manage to get the trade. Man advantage still up though for the Poles in this scenario. 4v3 is Envy, with their options fast running out, and Pasha on the aggressive. He could potentially spot this out here. That one solitary smoke going to rain into Connector. Sorry, actually going to be for the cross. But Pasha, he can tear this whole thing down now. Sixer is blissfully unaware. Good night, sweet prince. And now it is just Happy. 1v3. Bomb in hand. Only 17 seconds left to try and play around with here. Going to go and try and stick the plant. Here's the man up on top of the train, and goodbye. Taz picks that one up, no problem.
Solid CT side so far from Virtus.Pro. Now, also showing that they're able to handle EnVyUs at a full buy, not just taking eco rounds off them. At this point, Team EnVyUs, the loss bonus is going to be so big that they can potentially buy every single round if they want to. But right now, they don't really need money. They just need to get some rounds on the board because they're behind 1 to 8, 10 rounds played, or getting into round number 10. And we've only really seen one good round out of them. The rest have been, let's say, subpar. And here we go, coming into another one. Happy with the AWP. Pasha on the CT side with the AWP of his own. It's not really how we expect the setup, because Sixer usually is the one on that T side on EnVyUs with the AWP.
Scream's pushed all the way up here. Very, very aggressive out towards A. Doesn't quite land that first flick on out, and now was in the belly of the beast, picked off by Neo. XMS now going to start to regret this decision. Falls back up through Ivy, going to rejoin the bomb on the back of Sixer, while RPK and Happy start to make their way into B. They are going to get spotted out there by Taz, and that's going to cause the rotator VP to come soaring on in right now. Very, very quick on this rotate. They are going to lose Bialy in the process. Taz pivots around, but RPK puts him to bed. Now we're into the 3-on-3, and RPK fighting for his life within the site. Only gets one more, and XMS the last hope here for Envy in this round. 1v2, bomb down out in the open. XMS rounds the corner, finds the burst, but doesn't spot out Pasha. That's 4x3, taking him down. And Pasha provides that final push over the edge.
Really high impact frag come in from Pasha. Sees pixels of the first opponent, takes him out with a headshot. Second one in the 1v1 wins that out as well. So very nice from him as we have another pause coming in here.
I'm not too sure what this one was about.
So just a tactical pause.
Oh yeah, just a tactical pause.
Like a breath of relief, like, oh, it's not a tech pause. Yes, that's nice. Always nice.
Play a game. That's called Guess That Caster. Sat on the edge of the pool.
There you go.
I hope you got the quick look in.
We'll be waiting in Twitch chat to see if you have the correct answer.
But yeah, I mean, you know, if you're Envy right now, Risk, if you're envious, because you've played in a couple of these French pro teams.
Yeah, of course.
What would you be doing right now? If you know, imagine you're Malik, you're looking at this one. How do you approach it?
Well, first of all, I would just assume that we could try something that's been done and tested, and you can always get something out of, which is this like smoke wall tactic outside. Most of the time, you always get the bomb down, and then if you have, let's say, close-range pistols, you can maybe get a frag or two. So if you can get the bomb down, get a frag or two, you can kind of position yourself in a round where you actually have a chance of doing something. It's always good to have some confidence going into something, especially if you have a round like this where you only have pistols. So in my idea, in my world, I would probably go for smoke wall instead of armor on those pistols, and try something like execute heavy instead of just trying to take 1v1 duels, because 1v1 duels with pistols against fully bought up CTs is not going to work.
Let's see how they try and play this one out. They've sent Scream out here towards main. The issue is his Snacks is there, and will promptly shut him down. That's a two-man advantage now for VP as they look to be in the driving seat in this round once again. Sixer, how to find himself that Deeg on the ground. Wants to try and take this duel with Pasha. Not one I would want to take, though, as he gets beheaded. And now Neo steps up at the end and finishes off both RPK and Happy.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, they're trying to take duels, and I can understand, like, if you want to go ahead, you have a Deagle round, you have not a lot of hope in the round, you just want to see if you can win a duel and then get a weapon and then see if you can do something else. I would, of course, love to see a bit more structure, a bit more team play, getting some smokes in, getting some peaks with the angles and the flashbang timings with your teammates. Something that Astralis, for example, is very known for, something that North are very known for, getting these flashbang timings in. This is not really happening for EnVyUs in these pistol rounds, and I feel like they're just trying to go out one by one and take these tools and trying to gain some confidence back, but it's not working out right now.
Pasha, he's been a real problem for these guys down towards Ivy. Still going to be holding that angle. Envy, they're going to try a different approach. They've sent RPK in through Pop Dog. Going to have Happy with him. Well, the rest of the guys start their tirade out through a main. Bialy And Pasha, they have this crossfire set up, but Bialy going to hit the deck, and Pasha gets nothing back in return. Snacks now within the site, backed into a corner, forced to fight for his life as this push is just tearing them apart. Pasha in the back line, trying to do all he can, goes in for the flick, and he's going to get it. Pasha turns this into the 1v2. There's still so much left to do, and Pasha looking the wrong way here. Happy starting to make his way up on top of the train, spots him too late. Pasha takes the peak, and RPK does manage to finish that off. But I was getting scared there. Happy just flicked onto him a couple of seconds too late. Luckily enough, RPK did step up, and Envy, that attack pause clearly working out for them, do manage to get a second round.
Yeah, big round coming in from RPK and an XMS on the 2 entries there, but something I liked a lot, they used Molotov to clear out usual CT positions where the VP players usually play between the trains and stuff like that to kind of force them out of their comfort zone. And that's a really good way of utilizing the grenades in the game. If you can force the CTs out and like go into a door where you'll have the advantage, where the CT has to rotate away and kind of force peek you. So very nice stuff from EnVyUs. Want to see definitely more of that, using those utility grenades into their own advantages and getting that stuff done, peeking together, executing towards that outer bomb site and taking advantage of that. But as you said, Pasha has been very on point here in the Ivy. So if you know that you cannot get through Ivy, it's going to be very hard to get a full execute towards A. Finally, Scream comes in and wins that duel.
Yeah, lost Pasha. He was pivotal in these last couple of rounds. Now Snacks trying to show that he's a competent AWPer as well, as Taz and him hold down the site. Damage done from Snacks, but backed into a corner. He's going to get picked up. And now it is just Taz left in the 1v2. Sixer is a merciless god, though, as he snuffs him out at the end there. Envy going to take a third, and with that, they've actually done significant damage to the VP economy.
Looking around where they'll probably invest in Max 7s, which is Snacks. Probably going to see him play the pop dog with that kind of weapon. Maybe with the counter flash if he sees something coming down. Rest of the team lacking a bit of utility, but they do have all the right weapons. So it's definitely not a terrible round, but if they lose this one, they're going to be in trouble in the bye that's coming in the last round of the first half here. So definitely interesting. EnVyUs, after a terrible start, could get themselves potentially on 5 rounds, which is of course not good, but comparing to the fact that they were down 1-8, it's still a pretty nice scenario.
Scream once again going to win that duel out versus Pasha. The man advantage taken here for Envy. And now Neo holding the angle, fires his shot a little bit too early, and is going to pay the price for it. As Sixer going to drop out Scream for them. Snacks able to find the equalizer. It's going to be the 2v3. Bomb goes down. Bialy still waiting in the site. It's going to allow that bomb plant to come in while Taz and Snacks set up for this retake. They've got themselves the man advantage. Sixer going to be holding the angle. He's looked fantastic with the AWP. Misses the opener. They keep pushing into him. He's going to miss again. That's 2 in a row. And now he's been tagged very low. Going to lose XMS in the site. Taz comes in for the pounce from behind. And that is VP. Oh, boys. I get it. You've been taking a break. You're a bit rusty, but there you go. They should manage to get this. That will be VP in with their 11th round. They snuff out that resurgence from Envy early on, and that is what was needed.
Very nice retake as well, very patient. They waited for the opportunity to strike. Actually, quite lucky that Sixer missed that opening AWP shot, and then the second one after that. But after that, they knew, okay, this is the time to strike. They're going to be holding back on their angles after peeking twice. They're going to be holding defensive, and then they push all on the same time, and that opens the map up for Taz to come in at the back and get those 2 kills. So 11-3, final round of the first half. EnVyUs' economy not perfect, definitely not. RPK forced into the CC. The CTs definitely have all they want. 3 kits as well. 2 AWPs.
Yeah, when you look at it for Envy, it's really less than ideal. The 2 Galils in play, a little bit of utility spread thinly across the team. And RPK with only a CZ. It's going to be tricky. Double nade into Pop to clear that out. Not going to find any damage though, as VP playing this round much more passively than the previous couple. Bialy within the site, and RPK is fully blind. He runs in with a CZ, but Bialy picks him up. Man advantage taken early on for VP. The nades, the utility usage from Pasha there to find another. 2-man advantage up for VP right now as Envy. They're desperately trying to do damage. And XMS, he's the man to try and do that. Scream in the meantime picks up 1 more. That's going to be Bialy. Hit the deck. XMS, ooh, things are going to get a little bit toasty here. Backed into a corner. The Molotov doesn't quite spread. So he's allowed to survive for the time being. But Neo holding the angle. The bomb hasn't gone down just yet either. And actually, it's going to get dropped as Neo picks that one up. Now he's just happy, and XMS, but happy as per usual, has worked his way to the back lines. This time, however, there is a man ready and waiting, and that's Snacks. Hot on the trigger. XMS left 1v3. Oh, yeah, they see each other there on the ladder. XMS finds the first. He's already got 2. He has to make it 4 if he wants to win this one out, but Taz holds the angle, and he holds it firm. And that is VP to win out this first half, 12-3.
Very nice play from VP, definitely. EnVyUs looking pretty lost on the T side, to be fair. But now they are rotating over to the CT side, where they definitely should have a bigger chance of getting something done. They can kind of hold back and await what VP throws at them and then react to that. I think that fits the style of EnVyUs way more than a T side, where they have to come up with stuff at all points and kind of like innovate the way to play that T side. I think they're way better if they just hold back and wait and react to what's coming to them. 6 only on 3 frags right now and happy on 4. Those 2 players definitely need to be on like top form if they want to do anything against VP. Pasha on the other side of things, very, very good on the Ivy position with the AWP. Locked a lot of rounds down. I think he had a couple of 4Ks as well. So nice stuff coming out of him. Taz, always the grand old man of VP, stepping up as well, 16-6. So VP, they're looking quite good here, but this is only half one of map 1 of this tournament, so things can still go wrong.
So you told me that you were good at Greek mythology.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a god maybe to describe each one of these players, how would you be feeling? Let's start with like Pasha. Top of the board. He's been great at holding back impossible odds.
Obviously, Pasha with the muscles, he has to be Hercules.
Okay,
that's a half god of demigod, but still.
Okay, no, I'll allow it.
And
okay,
Taz.
We're gonna look at Taz. The wise, but also
he's obviously Zeus.
Okay.
Yeah, definit't. He's the wise one.
Then we're gonna look, Scream.
Scream. Actually, that's a good question. I don't know. Scream could kind of like, if you look at Poseidon and how Poseidon would look, if Scream just grew his beard a bit longer and painted it white.
Okay.
Kind of like a majestic.
And now we're going to go Sixer, down there, bottom of the board, 3-13. Oof. Maybe he's just a normal person. Maybe
just a normal like Greek inhabitant living on an island, just looking up at the gods and saying, okay.
Not quite. But yeah, I mean, after that first half, I think VP are looking really good. That's very promising. I really thought that Envy would have given them a run for their money,
Definitely.
But VP, they've been a hard beast to try and tame, and right now, Envy, they just aren't managing to do it.
Well, we still have the CT side of Envy to go, and as I said before, like this is where they can probably show more of their usual styles. So I'm hoping for them to mount a comeback hit and at least make this one interesting as my mic drops down. Here we go. But like the CT side should be where they pick up the good stuff and actually start getting some rounds together, getting more than just 1 or 2 rounds, or actually just 1 round, and then a bunch of VP rounds, and then 1 more round. So definitely see them winning the pistol, and then if they can build on that, they can start winning.
That's kind of the thing there, right? For Envy, the pistol effectively decides their fate now. If they lose the pistol, they're what, 12-3? They that would see VP through to match point. That's all they need.
Yeah, and the map is about to go back into normal game mode. We do have the halftime being over. As we actually, we might still have one of the VP players in the toilet, so not quite sure here. The countdown is still going on the server, but let's just wait and see. But now up to the boys in blue, the EnVyUs guys, to take this one back. Sixer needs to step up. Happy needs to step up, but they have the individual qualities, these 2 players, and the rest of the EnVyUs team, to go back into the game, get that confidence, win that pistol, and start winning some rounds. But will VP allow them right now? That's a real question. And Scream just dedicating, have fun to Taz. Always a guy who has fun. That's kind of like what I can gather from the man. He seems to always be smiling, always happy, Taz. Such a great guy.
Well, let's see if he's going to be smiling after this pistol round as they've made their way over here towards the B-bomb site, stacked up outside. They haven't committed to anything just yet, though. They're making noise. They've thrown in decoys. And now they're going to look to try and push out over here towards A. Scream, he's known for his one-taps, but right now he's not tapping anything successfully. He's missed a whole bunch of shots. It's XMS to actually do the first bit of damage to VP, trying to help out his teammate best he can. And right now, Scream finally chimes in with 1. Bialy's pushed up aggressive onto the site, but XMS snuffs him out. Neo left in an impossible 1v5. Will fall, and that's Envy to get themselves a pistol. They stay afloat in this one another day.
That's what we were talking about. They needed the pistol to get back into this game. Now they do have this upcoming round where VP, they don't have a lot of money. Definitely could go for the pistol armor buy, pistol utility maybe on some of the players and go for a big execute. Right now, they are choosing to do just that. So let's see if VP can do something with the wonderful pistols in this game that are, in my opinion, a bit overpowered. But let's see if they can change my mind here. 2 MP9s, 2 UMP45s, and a FAMAS on the CT side of things. Pasha, of course, with the Desert Eagle. Hopefully bringing some magic with him.
Yeah, now we saw he was somewhat the king of Ivy in the CT side of the half. This time he's going to look to try and contend for it as a T. Molotov keeps him at bay. Has Bialy there to try and help him out. Smoke going to rain in now to keep VP away. Loving the amount of MP9s brought up by Envy. On for RPK and Happy. That nade doesn't actually find any damage. Bialy takes a tiny bit, but I thought it would have done much more. Here's bypass his smoke though, and this could be huge. He's found a bit of damage downrange. Doesn't transpire to anything just yet for VP as they now start to progress down through Pop Dog. Pasha has to check the right angle here, but they've just lost Scream, and that's going to force Sixer back a little bit. Bialy tries to refrag. Damage being done. Pop Flash rains in, and Sixer will be able to take 2. Neo taps away, does find some damage, but that will be it. Snacks and Taz between them, left in a 1v3. As Snacks, he's currently got 2, has to ace this one for the win. Bomb dropped out in the open. And near an impossible clutch, but he's the man to make it happen for VP. Spots the first. Player up above him, spots the shadow. Snacks him with a 3rd now. And this is where things get promising. They just keep offering their heads up to him on a silver platter, and Snacks will take that all day long. Pushes into the site, spots the man within it, but RPK snuffs him out with so little time left. That round was looking already far gone.
Apart from the last piece from Sixer there, he actually had a really, really good round. Played it very patiently on the Ivy side of things. Just stood there with the UMP45. Then when they started pushing out towards the other positions on A-bomb side, actually do see the lovely caster duo from before. When they started to pushing out, he kind of like shifted away in focus, but then when he heard the steps on Ivy, he stepped right back in, took the first frag, got the pop flash in, and then got the second one as well to shut down that whole area and kind of like take that map control away from the T's. He then peeks aggressively for the 3rd one, doesn't get it. That's of course not the best decision in the world, but still the patience from Six in that round, despite him only being on 3 frags from the first half. It's very nice to see that he's still composed despite losing that first half.
Happy, things are about to get very bloody very quickly. He's going to fall. But RPK, they walk into the meat grinder. He's just going to go ahead and chip away at them with the MP9. Does have some time to get the reload off, and Pash has been afforded the UMP, but that is it for VP in this round. 2v3, they're able to find 2. It was Happy and Scream. Presented themselves early on to the Polish machine that is VP. And they're going to start to aggress on in. It looks like that RPK wants to go back for more. The MP9 rains death in, and there it is. A quick, easy ace for the man himself. That is going to be a very, very keen $3,000 farmed up for him. Going to be happy with that one. 8,000 to his name, and he might even just stick with the MP9.
Yeah, RPK, one of these players statistically, he's been so good for EnVyUs in, let's say, the last 6 months. He's always, not always, but most of the time on top of that scoreboard for his team. This time around, he's also on 15 frags to 14. Clearly the best score on his team, and racking up an ace in that last round. Definitely showing his stuff. Now, the full buy coming in from VP. Orb on Pasha. No utility on Snacks and 1 flashbang on Neo, so definitely lacking in that department, but let's see if they can make it work off English is hard, of firepower alone. That was the sentence I was trying to say. They do have 4 AKs and an AWP. FAMAS on screen as well. So a chance for VP if they can open up with a frag. Positioned outside of Ivy. 3 members of the team, and then the rest positioned to make the split A execute pretty much. As they only have 2 smokes remaining. Flashbang, things start to happen. Happy with the AWP on Ivy.
Smoke going to come in, falls on the wrong side. Happy still allowed to watch. Nearly connects that shot, but instead it's Bialy that takes Sixer as he goes aggressive. An advantage now for VP. We see this a good bit. They've thrown the AWP onto Happy. Clearly thinking he can make something happen with it. But currently hasn't shown us too much. They're going to start to push out. Now the smoke rains in to keep Happy away. Falling onto one side of connector allows them to start to peek on out in. He have 1 angle to worry about. Neo in the meantime going to drop RPK in the B bomb site, but Screaming with the peek only takes 1. before Pasha gets that trade. Happy's repositioned over on A, holds the cross, that's bomb dropped. But he is with his back to the enemy here. He's going to lose XMS. Happy left in the 1v3, isn't ready for Neo. He holds down the angle, and that will be VP to find themselves a 13th round.
Yeah, a lot of aggression coming out of Team EnVyUs on that CT side does not work out. Neo able to catch 2 frags while pretty much his opponents are either aggressing or running away from other players on the team. So nice of him to get a couple of free frags in that position. Opens up towards that B bomb site. And the last frag onto the AWP trying to save. 13 rounds now coming in from VP. EnVyUs forced into the pistol. 2 CZs, 2 Deagles, and Taz just going straight onto the fray. AK-47 in hand and trying to look for some kills. Get some aggression done, take some map control.
Oh, Taz spotted him there. Tries to find this frag, going back and forth with Sixer, and we're able to find it. Neo, in the meantime, mops up 2 more in this round. It could be a quick, easy one for VP. Boosting up Happy. Doesn't get anything done. Taz makes it look easy, and now it is just RPK left in the 1v5. It'd be ideal, really, for him to get a gun here to take into the next round. Save something, seeing as they did go for the force into this one. It's the only way they could try and fill the buy into the next round, and even then, the buy would be terrible.
Yeah, it would not be ideal whatsoever. So RPK, a kind of a tough spot here. What should he do? He's obviously looking for exit frags here, but I don't think that Virtus.Pro are going to offer them to him. So they just want to play, rotate off the bomb side and then play 1 guy on the bomb side. If something happens, they can rotate 1 back in and hold the bomb to make sure he doesn't jump on him and defuse. But the rest of the team already rotated off, trying to find alternative angles and make sure they bring their weapons into the next one. Make sure that RPK cannot grab it. And that's the name of the game. 14 rounds for VP. 2 rounds away from grabbing their first victory here at Mykonos at the ESG Tour. Pasha once again with the AWP has been perfect with this so far. One of the reasons, alongside definitely Taz coming back into form, that VP are doing so well in this map.
And they have still got that AK. They have the utility on RPK as well. He's going to be the catalyst rifle player into this round, but VP, they can always taste the win here. They're going to be sending Bialy towards Ivy. Backed up, of course, by Pasha, Snacks and Taz. Waiting over here towards main, and Neo left in pop. Now VP, of course, a team that have had wavering results, to say the least, and a multitude of early group stage exits. Now looking like they want to try and close this out and correct that wrong that has been burning them for so long. Bialy pushing in through Ivy, has to be cautious because there is a man waiting for him. Just round the corner, it's gonna be Happy, and Happy looks anything but as he gets completely annihilated. Bialy onto a second as Sixer presents himself. Snacks with the no-scope and good night scream. XMS gonna fall because Snacks, he does it again. And now it is just RPK left in the 1v5. We've seen him have to try and do this once before. He takes the first. And over he is, and all that's done is ringing the dinner bell as they come charging on in. Spotted out, RPK. And I want to let him save. He's tapping away, finds one more on a Bialy. Making it costly at least, but this time, oh, okay, Snacks goes down. Thankfully, Pasha picks that one up. It was getting a little bit worrying.
Then again, he manages to come into a situation where he can grab 3 frags in a position where he shouldn't really be able to do much, maybe even save his AK. So nice of him to get that triple kill there. But on the other side of things, like VP, they're like easily, like they can easily manage to buy out here. They even get 2 orbs on the T side, so definitely not an issue with the economy here for the Polish guys. 15-6, and we might have to tell Thorin that he was right, because EnVyUs have not been looking good in this match.
Yeah, I mean, all the guys over there on the desk, and, you know, I mean, they were right to give the nod that this is a match that they would bet on. Here we go. Six has fallen early. Man advantage up for VP once more. Envy. They have to try and find an equalizer sooner rather than later. Nothing presents itself just yet. Oh, peek from RPK, gets punished. He's going to get tagged away. Neo spots him out, and Taz saw the barrel there. Timing actually allows XMS to start to peek on into Pop Dog. just going to be positioned over here towards B. They have Taz locking it down. In the meantime, Pasha and Bialy starting to push down through Ivy, going to try and pincer on in to the guys that have rotated into B, which right now is getting decimated regardless. RPK, the first man to fall, happy. The only one left within the site. Might not even see action as it already looks like they're going to start to double back round. XMS waiting over here on Larry. He's got a very good idea as to what's about to transpire. Exactly. Molotov goes in, denies him rotating up from behind. But look at this, Bialy. He's the one that's going to make all the difference here. Pushed all the way up through CT spawn. He can shut down this man in connector, but Snacks beats him to it. Jumps the gun. Happy going to fall as well. It is just XMS. 1v4. And it's going to be near on impossible. Snacks finishes him off. A 4K for him in that round. And VP win that one out very convincingly so. It's been a while since we've been able to say that one, Risk, but I'm very happy they did.
Yeah, the way that they really used the aggression coming up the CTs of EnVyUs in these last couple of rounds, they kind of used the aggression from the CTs to kind of take them out because they just held defensive angles and made sure they grabbed the kill every single time the CTs tried to peek them or rush him. We saw XMS got into a position where he was so afraid of actually rotating up there because 2 of his teammates died of pushing aggressively. So he just stayed in the position. It was the right choice, but still you could see that he was afraid of doing anything out of the ordinary. And that's really great if you can force your team or your opponents into a state of mind where they think, okay, I can't do anything because I'm just going to get shut down if I do anything out of just holding this angle. Looking forward now for VP, do you think this bodes well for them? Do you think they played well here? Do you think they'll be able to, beat Liquid later on? I think they do have a decent chance now, especially with Taz having a good game, getting some confidence in the beginning of this tournament. The VP guys, of course, looking happy. Neo and the boys looking good after taking that win. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think they have a chance. Definitely, Pasha looking good. Neo looking not as like before, looking great as well. So a decent chance. Liquid looked okay against Big as well, so I guess we're going to find out when we hit the decider game. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, VP there, they won that very convincingly, as you said. I think there was a lot of things going right for them. There was a lot that they were doing that we hadn't really seen from them. I mean, Snacks was looking confident. Pasha as well was looking really good. We had a few couple of key players coming in from Bialy. And when you look over at EnVy, they look deflated. They didn't look like that same team that we've been seeing kind of crush it at all these events. Instead, I don't know, there was just something missing right for the Frenchman. Yeah, and it feels so weird to me because it's not many weeks ago we saw EnVyUs playing the best of 3 online in the ESL New York qualifier against Gambit, where they played Train and they defeated them. I think it was like 16-5, and they looked so good on this Train. And I'm kind of like wondering what happened between that online game and this game here now, because those two teams look very, very different. It might be because they're playing against VP and they just like don't feel very good against them, but yeah, it looked like 2 different teams completely. I mean, either that or they just said, yes, come for the holiday and get out of here as early as they can. Means they don't have any more games to play. But, to go more in depth than we ever could, let's throw it over to Paul and the guys over at the desk.
So I'm not sure about desks so much as a palatial area of expertise. We've got Thorin and Lurpus back with us. Gents, what did you make of that? And we'll start with you, Tommy.
That's basically what we thought would happen. EnVyUs just didn't have almost anything on the T side. They went down 10-1 before they got a couple rounds on the board. Just not a very tactical team. Doesn't suit Train Terror's side very well. Not really sure why they went to Train in the first place, as we talked about during the veto phase. Exactly, yeah. And I mean, by the time Virtus.Pro changed sides, it was all but over. It just seemed like a matter of time before they finally clinched the 16th.
When I was watching them, Phil, there, I mean, just talk after the game, the casters. I've actually got a nickname for that casting duo because they both obviously have red hair, right? A color I have an affinity with, So it reminds me of that video game. This is the nickname of their team, okay? You remember that game? Red Dead Redemption? Red Dead Redemption was the name of the game, right? Because obviously both red, and then obviously Dead Redemption is for Risk's career, which is now apparently been artificially brought back to life thanks to DreamHack and ESG Tour. But speaking of people who are back from the dead, who used to be good in the early days of CSGO, Virtus.Pro looking very good on training.
I like the
link. It was a segue.
I was waiting for how were you going to bring this back.
It was
Don't worry about
smooth as silk. I like
but
that.
I have to say, while VP did look very good, obviously they won to counter here. I have to say, the fact that they just won so dominantly on the CT side, it was good on their side of the equation. The fragging looked good, but it did look like EnVyUs were very hesitant on the T side. Like they didn't really particularly know how to play the T side. The bizarre thing is, I do know that in this iteration of EnVyUs, they do play Train. It's actually been one of the maps that they've gone to because they don't have the same strengths on the other ones they have. So they kind of had to mix it up a little bit. Not many people like to play Train. I found it a bit underwhelming. And there were a lot of if you've ever heard me analyze any EnVyUs games, it's the usual bingo number of happy baiting and too many slow rounds. You know, a lot of what you usually expect. So I feel like EnVyUs underwhelmed a lot. VP just did a good job.
If there was a highlight for EnVy, it was RPK.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we basically said earlier, too. It's like RPK's been sort of their best player, more so than Scream, and they really need Scream to put up some numbers. They're just not going to be winning tournaments if RPK's their best player.
That statement tells you all you need to know about the current situation that EnVyUs is in, because in an ideal team such as G2 last year, you want RPK ideally to be like the middleman in your team. You want him to be, because he's such a stable player, and he plays exactly that set style of playing so slow as well, that you ideally want him to just be the rock. And you want him to be stable, and then you want your superstars to be above him. You want the other players to play a bit more supportive. So if he's the one standing out, that means that you probably don't have a star player in your team, unfortunately. So I think that's kind of the situation they're in right now. It's a rotating cast, and depends who's on and whose map it is. I think this dude does well otherwise.
All right, let's talk about the positives of Virtus.Pro, because you guys sort of quite candidly said it's really about how badly EnVy can lose this game, and maybe not so much how Virtus.Pro can win it, but they took it to EnVy. They were active, they were good on the map. Snacks did seem to be pulling off some fantastic no-scopes towards the end of the rounds as well. So that was a good performance, wasn't it?
Yeah,
all right, it wasn't great. It wasn't major winning, but it was good.
Well, the key thing is obviously they weren't playing like, you know, a world beater in an opponent, so you can't take too much from it. But I will say they looked pretty solid. They looked a lot better, obviously, than the team that went to Malmo, where Snacks was terrible and he still hadn't come out of his funk. And actually, Neo was very poor at that tournament, I have to say. Generally, they look like they've reworked it a little bit. I think actually, like I said before, I think they're one of the teams who should enjoy an environment like this. They've played so many LANs in their careers, you know. I think they're just such pros. They're not going to get fazed by anything. I think this is also an example of where one thing I do think VP still has going for them, why I was so worried about some of the losses they had to the likes of the Renegades, is I still feel like whether their level's at the top peak anymore, if they can just play half decently, they still have that intimidation factor for the newer players and the teams who haven't been to the top level. That's why famously they've always held it over the NA teams. Obviously we'll see them against Team Liquid later. And I feel like if they can just get to a decent level again, these lesser teams will have that aspect of like, oh, it's VP, oh, if they run away with the game, it's going to become the plow, etc. So that's still present to some degree, and I think against EnVyUs it was able to manifest.
I mean, they really just took care of business. I think that's the best way to put it. They did what they were supposed to do. Didn't do anything special, but didn't also mess up anything too badly. They did what they were supposed to do. That's what you do in group stages to get through. And then next up is Liquid, who's another team, like Duncan said, that they should, if they're playing well, they should just basically just get their 16-10-ish win without too many issues.
Not necessarily a performance worth 25 grand a month. Maybe like a solid 12, 13K with some benefits, you know, 401K or something, you know.
Dental.
Good effort, yes.
Dental.
Good effort, yeah.
All right, okay, good. We're going to get more, of course, from our panel members very shortly. We're headed towards a break. Don't forget, we did mention earlier on there's a couple of competitions running. We've got one already with Steel Series, but I wanted to update with one on PV Pro right now. You can head over to pvpro.com, sign up, and you'll get a free 100 coins. You can then play your matches, do your wagers, and everything else that you can do over on the site. And thanks to the guys, of course, for being one of our primary sponsors here at ESG Tours in Mykonos. We are headed to a break right now, but coming up next, it is a big battle in Group B, because the winner of the next game is guaranteed a spot in the semi-final. It's Liquid versus Virtus.Pro next.
Be focused. Be uncompromising. Be the best and never hold out. Pick your event. Place your bet. No matter who you are or what you're here for, it's our passion that unites us. Betway, for the love of the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ESG Tour Mykonos, presented by Betway. We are in our final game of the day as far as Group B is concerned, with the winners bracket final. Team Liquid going head-to-head with Virtus.Pro, back outside once more at this luxurious villa in Mykonos with two of the most experienced old heads on young shoulders in the Counter-Strike scene with Thorin and Lurpis. Was that cool enough? We were talking about this, weren't we?
It's something to build on.
Could be an interesting contrast, because one day if you ever, God forbid, get plastic surgery, then you'll be a new head on old shoulders. So.
Not planning that
no,
at
okay.
all. Not planning that at all. Let's talk about this next game up. I guess we talk about Liquid first. Yeah. They obviously played first today, came through against Big. How did you rate them?
I thought they were all right, actually. I do think the game certainly was aided by Big, certainly. I hope that they'll do the pick ban better. I think that was actually potentially a big problem there. I'm not sure what they were thinking going into that one. I think coming in against Virtus.Pro, though, just thinking of the mentality of the Team Liquid players, that's a concern for me, because historically, it goes for pretty much all the NA teams. They have always struggled against Virtus.Pro. I mean, part of it's the intimidation factor. Sure. The style of play can be very brutal, you know. But I also think there's just this psychological component there. For some reason, the NA teams just... They feel like when they play VP, that's one of the teams that kind of puts fear into them, you know, whereas some of the other teams have very skilled players, but they think, hey, we're skilled players as well if we get on our game. So I think the psychological game will be a big factor for Team Liquid.
One of the things that won't be necessarily a factor is Elige, in the sense that it wasn't particularly where we thought we would see him in that first game. You expect more from him now, don't we?
No, he was definitely someone invisible in the earlier game today, but Twist obviously picked up much of the slack. He had a really good game. Liquid is going to need Elige here, I think, if they're going to compete in the match. I think they're going to have to be really well prepared tactically. But one thing to point out is, while Zeus is obviously one of the better coaches, has the best credentials easily out of any coach in CS, his teams weren't particularly super successful against Virtus.Pro. They did fine, but it was always a team they had close series against. So I'm not sure he's going to have any secret insight that's going to put Liquid over the top here.
Okay, let's turn our attention to Virtus.Pro. And, I mean, it's hard to say we were impressed by their first game, but at least it was better than we expected, perhaps.
Yeah, if anything, the weird thing about the slump recently has been that it wasn't even like past slumps, you know. We understand they can drop off a world-class level. I mean, that happens to all teams eventually. But it's the fact that they were coming last place in tournaments, losing to teams you could never conceive of them losing before. They looked like a very vulnerable team, actually. Like anyone, in theory, could go against VP at this moment and think, hey, we have a shot to win, which you never thought that in the past unless you were a really world contender. So I think this was more like what you'd expect from them. Maybe not yet at championship form. We hope they'll peak during the tournament and kind of build up as they go. Because certainly, if they come in with anything approaching form we've seen in the past, not even distant past, you know, still pretty good towards the beginning part of the summer, I think at that point in time, they can contend for the title, you know. So there's still a lot to play for if they can work themselves back into shape, I think.
We shouldn't forget as well, either team wins now, they're in the semis. So it's like, and then once you're in that mix, do you get the feel, Tommy, that almost anyone can win when you get to that kind of point? Because we are in the best of threes, though.
The one big thing, I think, coming out of the group stages, because SK is on the other group, they're going to be heavily favored to win that group. Sure. Then winning this group is actually highly valuable, because that's going to allow you, assuming SK actually does pull through, to avoid SK in the semifinals and give you a better chance of making the grand final. So actually, it's a very big game for both teams.
Yeah, and in the way that Virtus.Pro match up against Liquid, you talked about the intimidation from the Liquid side of it, but how did Virtus.Pro go into this game?
Well, actually, one of my big concerns, and this is something that very rarely was a concern for a VP team, is that I think this is another game where actually I'll give the edge at the moment still to the Team Liquid players in terms of the individual players. Like, I think you look at Elige, you look at Twists, they're the best players in this game at the moment. You know, the guys from Virtus.Pro, their stars aren't really on form at the moment. People like Pasha and Bialy are good, but they're not going to be in like top 10 rankings, etc. So I feel as though Liquid can have a small edge there, which never was the case in the past when you played, especially because VP's style in the past almost negated individuals too, you know, because they played so cohesively and had such kind of a single-mindedness to them. So I think that on the side of the Virtus.Pro guys, you've got to get some star performances. Yeah. Like, just as we saw it took Tabson to almost beat Team Liquid, I think we've got to have, it doesn't have to be Snacks, it could be Pasha, it can be Bialy. We know they're fantastic players in their own right. I think, yeah, we've got to have the big performance. I don't think just some kind of team game alone is going to beat Team Liquid.
Okay, we're going to catch up with our betting guru, who's right on the money in the previous matchup. Let's find out what he's got for us in game number 3.
I am stood here once again with Luke. You did catch me in the middle of a piece of watermelon, however, and so apologies for that. It's delicious. Luke, what's going on Liquid versus Virtus.Pro?
Yeah, Pala, again, I'm a little bit perplexed by the way Betway have priced this one up. They've gone 1.7 to about VP. They've made them the favourites for this game. I'd probably have Liquid slightly edging this, and we can get them at 1.95 odds with the sponsors. I thought that Liquid were very impressive against Big. Obviously, they dropped the pistol rounds, but aside from that, it was a pretty flawless performance. Whereas Virtus.Pro, fine, solid performance, but I didn't really think EnVy put up too much of a fight. My one concern when backing Liquid is I do think VP have a slight edge in the veto, which could throw a cat amongst the pigeons. So it's probably one to be a little bit more cautious, but I'm siding with Liquid.
All right, thank you so much for that, Luke. Paul, back to you.
Look at that.
I think we should call that segment Slow Dancing with Luke Cotton.
Right.
And he's looking at Paula eye to eye the whole time.
Though, right?
Lady,
he's good with the feet.
I want to
got
dance.
a few moves out there. I'm expecting many
Can't
memes.
stand still.
Many memes this week. Yeah, what do you make of that then? Virtus.Pro favourites.
I can understand why. Like I said, a lot of history in it. Plus, Team Liquid, not just this kind of iteration, but famously, they're the team who always get close enough you think they can do it, but they underwhelm a little bit. So this would be the game where you feel like, listen, they're absolutely in a position to potentially win it, to potentially win the group. These are all great things, but if they come in and they are at all intimidated, or VP brings the game, you've got to kind of side with experience there, or the negative experiences you've had watching Team Liquid throw away games.
This would be the North American way to lose.
This version isn't just a meme. They still do it in this one, even though it's a very different set of players. You know, they find a way to somehow crumble in those, in like the 15-15 type.
I mean, look,
close games.
Look, they went out of the major qualifier against Flipside, and that was definitely a game they should have won. They were clear favorites going into that Mirage game, and he went to something like 6 overtimes before they finally fell.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things about Team Liquid as a team, that they can have that streak. Like at ECS, they were close to making top 4, putting Astralis out. Then they go to the major qualifier. You're thinking, look at this field. Yeah, they should be one of the teams that makes it through. They don't make it through. Meanwhile, people like Immortals make it through, and they make it all the way to the final of the major. So it kind of highlights how it's almost like Team Liquid never get the breaks. You know, there's just, they almost feel like the unlucky team. So I hope it's not the mentality of the players that's affected them at all. I hope they can reset and just. Because clearly the Counter-Strike is there. You see a lot of talent in this squad.
Sure. We talk a lot about momentum in Counter-Strike and what an important part it plays. We've seen it obviously earlier today with the fact that you can go up 5-1 and still lose a match and still lose the half with only winning one more round out of the last 11. In this context of this match, do you feel like Virtus.Pro are vulnerable if Liquid can put 5, 6, 7 rounds on the board early?
I feel as though Liquid probably has to. I think that's probably the win condition. Right. You know, front run, get it going early. Everyone's confident. No one's concerned. Then even if you give away the odd round, you got the lead. That's a big deal for some of the newer players, younger guys. Because remember when we talk about Twist and Elige, both of them pretty young still. Like Elige's 19. I think Twist might actually only be maybe just 18. I think he was 17 last year. Then you go over to the VP side of things. Historically, that was one of the factors about VP that makes the slump so shocking, because they were always the team that had the most grit. Yep. They could never be put away easily. You could beat them, sure. That happened in many of the semi-finals of the majors, but it took like the all-time great teams to do so. So I would hope for a team like Team Liquid, if they're going to have a chance to win this game, they can get a big streak going early, because I still feel like that's got to be there to some degree for VP if they're going to be a viable team, especially against teams that, in theory, they shouldn't be as scared of playing a Team Liquid. They should feel like we can get back into this at any time. All
right, Vito's almost ready, Tommy, so let's turn our attention to map selection. We've already said there's been a couple of odd map selections already in these first 2 games. Where are we going next?
You could actually potentially see this going to Mirage.
I think Mirage is a possibility, yes.
I think that's a map we could see.
Classic map for both, obviously. We noticed earlier on VP was vetoing Inferno, which actually is one that Liquid had been playing a lot recently. Cobble's one that actually Liquid do play again. We forget about it because we remember the time when like that kind of went away from them a little bit.
And Cobble. Okay, so Virtus.Pro's vetoing Cobble.
So we have gotten to Mirage,
yes. That is Mirage.
And actually VP vetoing Overpass themselves, which I find a little bit bizarre, because I've always thought that was always a sleeper pick for them throughout all iterations. The fact that actually you just saw Team Liquid, if I'm not feeling confident in Overpass after that one, I'll maybe wait and see if I can force them to veto that later in the equation.
It's also possible that Virtus.Pro's putting too much weight on that upset the Liquid had over Astralis at ECS when they were playing in like 40-degree heat in the booth when the AC was malfunctioning. So that's the one good win that I remember them getting on that map.
But yeah, this is actually an interesting one to me, because I feel like there's a few missed tricks there. Like for example, on the Team Liquid side of things, I don't know if I'm them that I would have gone and vetoed Cash right at the end there. I think you could make Virtus.Pro veto that. I don't think they want to play that map either, you know.
But I think that's one of those cases where if you're the sort of underdog, the less experienced team, those teams are usually the ones that don't have the nerves to just force the other team to make their pick for you. So they always just sort of fold
that's actually
and let
something
the
I
other
wonder
team do
about
what they want to do.
with Liquid, which is like, if you think about when Zeus coached SK, that was the era when they never wanted to play Cash, when that was like their permaban, and they actually had a lot of issues with it. I wonder if actually there's something about that in Team Liquid, because you would think, everyone says Cash is the new Dust 2. It's the skill map. That's the map actually with their team and some of the problems that I'd want to have that map. I'd want to have JDM up on that map, get Elise really rolling on it. It's amazing they kind of stay away from it entirely because they don't have the deepest map pool.
And that was always a good map they used to play. It
well,
used to be
famously Nitro.
Nitro used to be very good on that. Yeah, it's true. At the same time, I can understand if they do try to be more tactical with Stanislaw, then that's probably not the ideal map, because that was also never a map that Optic really liked too much. They were always a better team on maps like Overpass and Mirage.
To play into that, like this is actually a classic map if you want to see what Stanislaw potentially could do, because this is a map that the in-game leader can have a massive impact on. You take mid control, you make a read based on that. Obviously, VP know the map inside out. They basically invented how to play this map. But Team Liquid, people consider Stanislaw still kind of by default, admittedly, the best NA in-game leader. So I think this is a game where if he's going to do that, we could potentially actually see some kind of fingerprints from him on the game, not just say, oh, look, Twist's got 27 kills and Nitro had a good game. Let's see what Stanislaw can actually do in this one.
All right, good. Leaves us with predictions from both of you. Tommy, we'll start with you.
Let's see. I think I actually like Virtus.Pro after that game. Very close, I think. I think it's a 55-45, 60-40 type thing. But I think Virtus.Pro generally does very well on the T side of Mirage. I think if they get even 6 rounds on the board, that's going to put tremendous pressure on Liquid, whose T side I'm not so comfortable. And I think Twist and Elysia are going to make sure that they're going to have a good CT side, but the T side is going to be a struggle.
Yeah, this is a map I like for VP. It's one of the better ones, and one of the better ones in this matchup, I think, even though Team Liquid definitely likes to play it. I mean, I can't get out my head that Flipside game where they just blew it completely on the way out of the game, and that was not really the most powerful team from Flipside. It was just Electronic, basically, it felt like. So I'm favoring VP for this one. Not a blowout. Yeah, I think this can be very competitive. I actually do think the best players are actually over on the Team Liquid side, in Twist, in Elysia. So I hope they turn up and make it a really exciting game. But I think VP's actually going to win this group. I think it's going to be kind of a bounce-back tournament for them.
Okay, well, that's very interesting in terms of predictions on that, on this particular match. I'm hearing that the players are still taking some time to set up some drivers and what have you, so we have a little bit of time. So I'm going to change.
You can actually do that before the game.
You can, yeah.
Okay. You don't have to wait until someone tells you there's no driver.
No. It's just, you know, turn up with a prototype mouse and just not install the driver and not bring it with you.
No, don't worry about it.
You do that. I'm looking at you. Nothing. It has been done in the past. Yeah, so we'll just let them have a few more minutes to get set up. So it gives us a chance to talk about something a little bit wider. Something I wanted to tackle both of you with, because I love your opinions. I want to hear them. I read them.
There's a butt coming here.
No. There is absolutely no butt here. In fact, quite the contrary.
Okay.
It sounded like there was one coming for sure.
I enjoy lighting the touch paper between you and just sitting back and watching the barbecue that ensues. So I'm going to give you this one.
Okay.
Make a bonfire out of this one.
We probably can down there. Who has been the best player in 2017 in Counter-Strike?
See, the thing with that one is I actually think, personally, I don't think it's that close. I think you have to give it to Cold Zero. Like, even when they weren't doing well, like they had those 2 tournaments in a row where they didn't get out of the first phase. They went out in the group stage at Katowice, SK Gaming I'm talking about, obviously, and then at Star Series they failed in the Swiss system. Even in these tournaments, he was posting like MVP type numbers. Then when they go on their summer run where they won the 5 out of the 6 tournaments, he was unbelievable in every single match. Now, he has had a little downturn recently, like he had some dodgy matches at the major, particularly once you got to, like against Astralis, obviously he didn't kind of show up. And then, yeah, I did think at Malmo, he also kind of disappeared against G2. But when you've had about 50 good series in a row or something, I can forgive you having 2 that aren't that good, because normal humans have those games.
Right, exactly. I mean, he proved he was human a little bit at the major. I mean, the funny thing about that is the first 3 games that you had at the major, he scored more than 90 frags.
He was unbelievable, exactly.
90 frags in 3 games. It's just insane.
Yeah,
so,
well,
I mean, even though he did have a couple of rough games after that, his overall
for me,
performance is
the
still
quality
fantastic.
over the year, it's unbelievable. I mean, obviously, and like I say, he's done it through ups and downs. The difference was the team last year, they always placed top 4 pretty much. So at that point in time, you always feel like, yeah, well, you've got one of the best teams as well. You know, you're always in a winning position, might inflate your numbers a bit. I think he's done it the hard way, and I actually think, if anything, he might have gone to a higher level as a player. There's other candidates out there, but I think it's a bit more tenuous the case you make for them.
Right, okay. I mean, it's interesting because he was the player of the year last year.
Sure.
So We don't usually see that in Counter-Strike. It's super competitive at the top. It's rare that you see a player dominate a year and then come back and do another dominant year. Maybe they have a year off and then they come back. I remember back in CS had a couple where he was great one year and then not quite so great the following year. Still great, but then the following year he's absolutely insane again. So it's rare that that happens. Why is that in Counter-Strike, do you think?
Bizarrely, I actually think he has the best style of play to do it. Because it's funny, because normally his type of a player isn't the best player. They're like just a clutch player, and they're like a smart, like a rock player in your team. Normally that player, like I said about RPK, you want him in the middle of the scoreboard. He's not going to be your star player. But that's because someone like RPK can't frag like coldzera can. So I think with his style of play being so disciplined, so much routine to it, and clearly so much intelligence and intellect behind it, I feel like it's a very consistent style of play, whereas you think of some of the other superstars. He's got another one in his team, Fur, people like Nico, they're so aggressive. You're just going to have games where, even if your aim's on, you're going to run into a brick wall, 2 people are set up for you, or you get flashbang. You're going to die in that situation where coldzera, he always has the comms from his teammates. He's coming in later in the round where he's got more information, and it's more limited information. You know, there's 3 people in these positions, and he's such a smart player, he'll just make the right decisions, and then has the kind of the skill to back it up. So I think that certainly helps in terms of consistency. It also does help that he's been a part of probably 2 of the best lineups of all time in these 2 SK Gaming squads. So that'll certainly give you more chances to look very good as well. It's a bit harder if you're a Kenny S and you're going off sometimes in teams that struggle, you know.
Tommy, who else is out there? Who's impressed you this year?
Oh, I mean, I think coldzera easily is the best. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, the thing about, I want to say Device has been really good, but the problem is, when you think about Device, you think about the E-League Major.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was the one that he didn't actually
in the final.
Didn't have the greatest final. He did really well up until then, but then in the final he kind of disappeared, and that was supposed to be his moment, to finally close out a full tournament, have a great showing throughout, even in the playoffs. Had a great semifinal there. Nico obviously was great until phases. I mean, he jumped on phase, they instantly started getting top 2s, won a tournament. Nico, he's been incredible.
I think Kenny has to be in there.
Kenny for sure.
He's been very good.
Part of the problem for him is because he didn't get the results until the very last 2 months or 3 months now, I guess, where he's gotten results. So before that, you can't really fault him for it. It's like the Titan syndrome all over again. If you're going out in groups, if you're posting 30 kills a game, it's like it's only so much you can do individually.
Exactly,
So he's been absolutely good, incredible this year as well.
And I'd have to say Fur from SK Gaming as well. I actually feel like he's the most hard done by player in the world, because logically, he probably has to win the tournament for his team to be the MVP, right? But if you win the tournament, that probably means coldzera was amazing as well. So it's like every time he has a chance to win the MVP, coldzera just gets it. So he got it at ECS.
And if Cold isn't absolutely on fire,
then you don't get to win the tournament.
Fallen wins it, and then... Yeah,
it's almost like he's just not allowed to be the MVP. So I feel like in a bizarre way, listen, we all acknowledge he's very good, so he gets that. But there's a part of me wonders in a few years, since all these teams eventually do break up and fracture, no lineup stays up together forever, Virtus.Pro. I hope one day we do get that move where I want to see Fur playing like Immortals or something, because I think this guy, he has a whole other level he could even show if he was the true star of the team and everything was built around him.
Okay, interesting discussions. I'm hearing that we have got some more delays, unfortunately, with players and drivers and what have you. So we're going to let them do that. We're going to head to a break. Hopefully in the next 20 minutes or so, we will get our winners bracket game underway in Group B. Stay tuned.
Be focused. Be uncompromising. Be the best and never hold out. Pick your event. Place your bet. No matter who you are or what you're here for, it's our passion that unites us. Betway, for the love of the game.